Yes, very good morning to all, and this is Sonia Singh in front of you. Very warm welcome everyone on our channel Exam for IAS English Medium. Just due to some technical issues, the class is somehow delay. So I hope we are just going to start the session on the same pace and same energy, everyone. So just going to begin the session, everyone. I would just like to explain that what we are just going to conclude in today's session. We have a marathon session from 9 to 12. So we are just going to discuss a very we can say very important questions in today's session, and these important questions are somehow very important and very helpful for you people as per the examination perspective in the September exam, because your mains exam is just going to be happen within 15 or 20 days. So we already have a very less time. So just because of some technical issues, our class is late more over 10, I think 10 to 13 minutes. So we just like to I hope my voice is completely, I hope my voice is completely audible and video is completely visible, everyone. Okay. So before going to start the session, I just want to introduce to everyone with our exam for Sarkari Naukri app, and I think this app is somehow very important for the aspirants, specifically who are preparing for the government exams, or specifically for those students who are looking for their future in the government jobs. And so that definitely this app is completely helpful to everyone. You can surely download the app from the Play Store. You can just write down example Sarkari Naukri app. Later on, you can just install it. You can just sign up with your email ID and your phone number app. And later on, this app is just going to be informed you about every notifications. Definitely you can join us on the live session, you can join us on the paid batches as well, you can join us on the application classes as well, you can ask your doubts, you can put it your questions with the faculties as well. You can just counsel, just you can ask your questions specifically for your counsel for your career. So this app is very important, everyone, and this app is just going to be introduced with different features. So surely everyone, you have to be download the app, everyone, and you have to be share this app with everyone, and just tell them the benefits and the how the app is completely beneficial, everyone, for further examination preparation, specifically for the government exam preparation. Fine. So let's move ahead. I'm just so you can see the image, the screen, everyone, and this is about the important current affairs and the history. So this is the section specifically for revision part 2, the important current affair. We can say the monthly current affair. So I'm just going to cover in the session the monthly current affair, the last month, and the half of the, we can say that the whole of the the July month. And the history section, I would just like to go ahead with the different answer and questions, and we're just going to write down, we're just going to understand the approaches of the question. We will just introduce the different questions. Specifically, those are asked in our examination in the prelims or in the mains examination. And definitely these current affairs not only helpful to everyone to expand your knowledge, but definitely the questions of the history somehow helping you people in the mains perspective, where you can learn a lot, and definitely you can correlate the current affairs sometimes with the historical aspects as well. So definitely you can see these current affairs and the historical the question specifically related with the history section is very important as per the need, or we can say, and somehow definitely these things are very helpful to everyone to creating your intellectual ability, and definitely it helps to enhance your knowledge in a very broad perspective. Fine. So you can just see the section of the current affair first of all. So we are just going to introduce the current affairs section of QS World University Ranking in 2023. So QS this just a minute. Okay, so this QS World University Ranking is going to be released for 2023. So this question or the knowledge of the QS World Ranking University is very important to everyone as per the examination perspective, because sometimes the question is never ever asked directly on the QS World University Ranking, but as per the, we can say, the prelims perspective, this QS World University Ranking is very important. Sometimes the question is directly asked on the rankings, the World University Ranking, the research rankings, and sometimes they ask that indirect question that how the higher education is going to be modified and how the higher education is going to be concluded in further upcoming days. So this is somehow a very important current update to everyone, and you can see further. You can see the screen, everyone. QS World Ranking. Hello, Vivek More. Very good morning. This World University Ranking and annual publications of university ranking by Simons and the QS system, we can somehow comprise three parts. And QS World Rankings specifically just going to be ranked out or going to be published every year annually. And the global overall ranking, QS ranking is somehow representing as the overall, we can say, the global all ranking, where we are just going to be introduce all the universities specifically just going to be just playing its role in the research, in the technology or in the innovation, and subject ranking, and 5 independent regional tables, we can say, namely specifically for Asia, the Latin America, emerging Europe and Central Asia, and the Arab region, and the BRICS, the Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. So definitely we can say that the QS ranking is not only the part to giving the ranking to the universities, but definitely QS ranking is somehow giving us the information for the students, specifically those are looking their education in the their career in the higher education, that what is the best universities as per the need of the research, as per the need of the taking the good education. So definitely the first question arising in our mind, that what is the need to mark the ranking, right? So definitely we are just marking the ranking because we must know about the that we have to work on the quality and the quantity content on the universities. And somehow QS World Ranking have been released after considering several parameters. So it is very important to understand that what types of the parameters QS ranking is choosing actually, and including academic reputations. Academic reputations means that how the academic is working, and how the academic is showing the concern to the students, the existing students. And employer reputation, the faculties working there, the student ratio, that how much the faculty they are recruiting in the universities, and the student ratio. For example, as per the NEP, definitely we can say it is a very important to introduce 30 to 1 ratio. It means that if we have a 30 students, so definitely we're just looking for one or two faculties or teachers. And citations per faculties, definitely international faculties ratio, that how much international faculties they are recruiting, and the international students ratio, employment outcome, and definitely international research network, that how much our network is completely strong as per the need of the research and as per the need of the further parameters. हाँ बिल्कुल मिस्टर विवेक मौर्य, एंड QS यूनिवर्सिटी रैंकिंग के बारे में बात हो रही है नाउ. You can say the India's ranking, top in Indian institution in QS World University Ranking 2023. And you can see the institution, this is the ranking of 2022, and this is the ranking of 2023, and these are the institutions, we can say. And definitely the ISC Bengaluru, this is just considering an 155 score. Right, IIT Bombay, you can see 172, 174 is IIT Delhi, 250 ranking is still is existing on IIT Madras, 264 IIT Kanpur, 270 is IIT Kharagpur and IIT Roorkee, and one is 384 ranking is one, 384 for IIT Roorkee. So this is somehow the comparison you can see on the screen, everyone, specifically for 2022 and 2023. And this ranking is not only important to just rank up the universities, but definitely this ranking is showing us and just checking the parameters that how these universities are actually working on, and what type of the innovation and what type of the improvements we needed still to improve all these things. Now, so this is the you can say the this is the world ranking. On the world ranking, we can say the first university, which is MIT, Massachusetts of Technology, number 1. University of Cambridge is number 2. Stanford University is number 3. University of Oxford number 4. And Harvard is number 5. These are the parameters of the, we can say, the QS ranking. They are deciding the universities on the ranking, on the innovation, the quality, content, the faculties and the research. So on the whole universities, if we can say on the QS ranking, India is considered 155 and IISc Bengaluru is considered 155 ranking. And in the world QS ranking, MIT, Massachusetts of we can say the technology of technology is considering number 1. So these are the enough information of regarding QS ranking. And the Indian Institute Sciences IISc was ranked highest, followed by IIT Bombay and IIT Delhi. It means definitely we can say IISc is number 1, right? And IIT Bombay is number 2 and IIT Delhi is on number 3. And the total number of the Indian institutions among top 1000 globally has risen up to 27 from 22. And IISc Bengaluru is the world toppest research university. This is such a very big achievement, and achieving a perfect score of 100 out of 100 for this metric. And so definitely if we will check the parameter of IISc Bengaluru, definitely we can say that IISc Bengaluru is definitely going to be very good in the field of research. And somehow IISc Bengaluru just try to be exposed itself not only in the research but also hiring the national or the international faculties to teaching the students. And furthermore, definitely we can say that the IISc Bengaluru is the fastest rising South Asian university, because earlier we saw that we are just ranking up the QS ranking on the behalf of the not only the Asia but also the Latin America, the uprising European countries, the Central Asia and the Arab regions. So these are somehow very important information. And overall, if you will see the Indian education institution, 41 of which made it to this ranking and have performed poorly across many keys metrics. So definitely you have to remember the name of IISc Bengaluru as per the need of a QS ranking. Fine. For instance, 30 out of 41 ranked universities have suffered declines the especially faculty students ratio. And definitely when we will check the QS ranking parameters, we are just not looking the participation of the universities. We are not looking only for the innovation for the students, but definitely it is very important to check the quality education. So definitely the faculties who are coming from national or international level, they are somehow playing a very vital role in the universities. And the report shows that India's presence in the top 500 categories is IIT driven. Like if I'm talking about the IISc Bengaluru, IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, they are somehow considering on number 1, number 2 and number 3 platform out of 146 countries. And apart from IISc, 8 IITs, Delhi, Bombay, Madras and Kanpur, Kharagpur, Roorkee and Guwahati and Indore are ranked amongst the top 500 globally in the whole world. And if I'm talking about the Guwahati just considering in the research is number 1 in the not only the name of the research but also just innovating new ideas and innovating new technology. IIT Guwahati, right? and no other Indian universities, public or private, has found a place in the top 500 category since the launch of the Institute of Eminence scheme, right? So somehow definitely we can say that to existing in top 500 globally universities, somehow India is not only playing a very important role, but this is somehow a very big deal or the matter of appreciation for the Indian universities, specifically for the IITs. Those are considering or existing in top 500 globally, existing globally institutions, right? Global rankings and top ranks. Massachusetts, we can say Institution of Technology, MIT of the US is a top university. In the 11 consecutive years, from past 11 years, MIT is still existing on the same place. And second place went to the University of Cambridge. And last year in 2021 ranking, Cambridge was standing on the first position. But this year 2023, when we will discuss about the QS ranking, so Massachusetts, again MIT is considering or existing on the same first place, on first place from last consecutive past 11 years, right? So this is somehow very important information. And followed by Stanford University. For number 1 is MIT, number 2 is Cambridge University, and number 3 is Stanford University. So you must remember the names, or on the behalf of the Indian universities, we cannot forget the name of ISC Bengaluru, number 1, IIT, then Bombay, then IIT Delhi, then IIT Kanpur, or then IIT Madras, Roorkee. We have a moreover 3 or 4, 5 universities in globally ranking out of 500 universities in India. Fine. So challenges. This is all about the QS ranking that I already explained you. But whenever we looking the current affairs as the part of the important current affairs as the need and as the part of explanation of the prelims and the mains perspective, so it is very important to understand the broad aspects of the education. And it is very important to check the parameters, that if the QS ranking is just deciding 3 or 4 parameters to rank up the universities or to giving the ranking to the universities. So it is a very important to check in the Indian context specifically, that what is the initiative by the Ministry of Education, that what is the initiative of the government, that what type of the they are just putting the quality or the quantity improvements in the universities. And this is not about the question of the moreover the 500 universities, but definitely it is very important to give the we can say the chance to the other universities to rank up later on after 3 or 4 IITs, right? So it is very important to discuss about the challenges in the higher education. Again, it is very important to understand about the challenges. So we can say definitely it is also very interdisciplinary approach, that higher education in India is somehow explaining the quality and the quantity of the education, and somehow challenges is not only related with the education, but definitely numerous of the challenges impacted on the higher education. So let's check what are the challenges in the higher education in India. You can say university education and infrastructure. You can see the first challenge on the screen, everyone. Definitely you can see that university education and the infrastructure, whenever you discuss about the work of the university education, it means surely that university education is definitely just covering about the quality and the quantity of the education, surely. And what about the infrastructure? This is somehow showing the academic approach of the universities, that they are providing the good faculties or not, the buildings, the labs, and the somehow area of the innovation they are providing to the students or not. And what about the job market placement? Definitely the university education, your quality and your quantity, and infrastructure is somehow definitely we can say the whole aspects of the universities and the behavior of the universities with the students. Behavior means when we are put it the faculties, about the labs, we can say the need of the students, or are the universities are liable to fulfill the needs of the students as per the need academically. Fine. So somehow job markets and placements are somehow completely impacted the university education, and the education is given to the students by the universities, and industry oriented research and innovations. Definitely, if we will discuss about the IITs, and if we will discuss about the universities like ISC Bengaluru, IIT Bombay, IIT Madras, these are the universities, and specifically I already given the name of IIT Roorkee. It is somehow a very important university in the whole India, or we can say in the whole Asia, who is still existing on the number one position, not only just because of its academic performance, but specifically also on the orientation of the research and the innovations. And what about the quality and assessment of the practices, right? So quality and assessment of the practices is very important. Quality is somehow deciding the quality education, the quality faculties, and the faculties who are assigning not only the national level but also on the international level, specifically the universities who are ranking in number 1 or number 13 specifically out of 500 globally universities, right? Inadequate financial support, it is very important to providing the financial support to the students is completely related with the fellowships and the scholarships. And political interferences is very important. Political interferences means somehow you can see on sometimes the VCs, the prime ministers and the presidents, visiting in the universities, and sometimes they are giving the good lectures to the students as well. So political interferences is very important as per the need of the challenges of the higher education, because somehow what is happening actually, they are somehow started to bifurcating the students on the name of the caste and creeds. That we have a very good example of a JNUs, that we have a very good example of Banaras Hindu universities. So in the political interferences, it is very important to just get out of all the political interferences, specifically for the academic students, where the students are just looking for their own bright futures. And what about the gross enrollment ratio? Whenever we discuss about the GER, right? The present GER of India is just considering on 6%. So it is a very important to check that how much gross enrollment ratio that we are taking actually. And whenever we just discussing the existence of the India is existing 131 out of 146 countries in the position of the GER ratios. So it is very important to enhance, it is very important to work on the GER ratios in Indian context, and it is very important to check the quality and the quantity, and specifically the reasons behind it. If you are not going to get the good percentage of the GR, so it is very important to check that what is the reason behind it, what are the factors behind it. And it is very important to check about the challenges in the higher education. So to not approaching or not getting the GER, specifically, definitely we can say that the challenges in the higher education and the academic research is somehow suffering with the biggest challenges. Not only the GER, but exactly with the university education, infrastructure, job market placement, industry, quality education, and inadequate financial support and political interferences. Fine. So these are somehow very important points. And whenever we discuss about the another aspects of the QS ranking, the challenges but the reformation, how can we reform the quality education, how can we reform the quantity education, how we can improve the GER as well, right? So it is a very important reforms in Indian higher education, right? Accountability and transparency is very important. Accountability, when you have to be checked that the quality education is up to the mark or not. And what about the transparency of the education, that when we will discuss about the justice, not only with the education but with the thoughts process, the techniques, the ideas, and the academics opportunities provided to the students. And employability, it is very important to ensure the students that who are spending moreover 3 year 4 year in the colleges or the universities, so it is must to ensure the students that the employability is not the the biggest task to them. So this is somehow the reformation, and it is very important for the employability. It is very important for the university that they have to be call up numbers of the placement companies for the students, so that they have to be secure their future for further days. Social responsibility is very important whenever we discuss about the awareness, right? So it is very important to aware the people who are completely belong from the social responsibility. And social responsibility is definitely decide with what social responsibility is decide with your awareness, with your input, that the people specifically who are not interested to take the education, or if they do not want, and if sometimes if we get the good placements, students are just bound themselves and they just do not want to enhance themselves for the further stream. So it is are the social responsibility sometimes of the universities or sometimes of the governments as well, or Ministry of Education as well, that they have to be aware the students about the about the higher education. They have to be tell them what is the benefit of the higher education, and how can you can and how you can enhance your intellectuality, and how you can enhance your mental ability with the help of the social responsibilities, awareness with the social responsibilities in the higher education. Innovation, research and entrepreneurship, it is a very important. Innovation and research, that I already given the example of a Roorkee, that Roorkee is existing on number one position in overall in Asia's countries, where we are just existing on number one position just because of the exploration and the innovation. Innovation in the research and entrepreneurship is basically we can discuss about the startups when we will discuss about the skills, the ideas and the technologies. So definitely we can say that if you are just choose all these points about the autonomy, we can say about the accountability, the transparency, the employability and the social responsibility when you start to awareing the people, right? And innovation and research and entrepreneurship, when you are completely motivate the students about their own ideas, to using their skills, to using their technologies. And when you start to giving the good motivation to the students to do some new innovation in the technological field. So these are somehow very important points in the reforms in the Indian higher education, where we can not only improve our higher education, but definitely uh, to improving the higher education is somehow just giving the glance, just giving the transparency to the other people, not only the national level but on the international level, that how India is representing herself on the different level. And now India is not only just bound to be बढ़ो भारत, but it is very important to discuss about the new innovation, कि innovation में भी बहुत ज़्यादा improvement और यहाँ पर काम करने की हमें ज़रूरत है, right? We are needy of it now. So this is all about the QS ranking, everyone, and this is somehow very important information. So whenever you writing about the higher education challenges and reformation, you can mark down the headings, that what is the autonomy, how the accountability and transparency is working actually, employability, then social responsibility and the innovation, research and entrepreneurship. And whenever you discuss about the challenges, so you have to mention numerous of the points, that we cannot forget about the university education and their infrastructure, their job market and placement. When we are suffering with then when we are spending moreover 3 or 4 years in the education, but still we are not getting the jobs. Industry oriented research and innovation. Industry oriented means definitely when we are looking for the need of the industries, and the quality and the assessment, and in any inadequate financial support and the political interferences. So these are somehow very basic points, which is we can see the challenges in the higher education. And whenever you discuss about the reforms in the Indian higher education, these are somehow also very important informations in the higher education system. Fine. So let's move ahead. I hope this is completely clear to everyone. If you have any doubt in the QS ranking, the norms and challenges in the higher education, the need of the reformation, so definitely you can ask me the questions. Otherwise, we will move ahead on the next current affair. You can see about the PM Cares for Children, rupees 10 lakh for every children. So PM Cares Fund just announcing that they are just going to provide the rupees 10 lakh for every children who are not going to be taking the appropriate education. And this is only for those children who are just suffered with the COVID-19, who lost their parents in the COVID-19 pandemic. So PM Cares, you can say this is the somehow the initiative by the PM Cares Fund, Prime Ministry Citizens Assistance and Relief in Emergency Situations and Funding. So this is a very important discussion, everyone. We are just going to start soon. Okay, so PM Care for children, so rupees 10 lakh for every children. What is the PM Cares for Children scheme? First of all, about the scheme was launched in 29th of May 2021. So definitely you can realize that this scheme is not the new one. With the aim, what is the aim of the PM Care Fund? Support children who lost both of surviving parents and legal guardian adopting parents of single adoptive parents to COVID-19. And the status of the children is a need to care and protection to include the orphans. Moreover, we can say moreover 10,994 lost either parents. Moreover, in the population of 1.5 lakhs, and in the gender wise breakup, the out of, we can say definitely 1,47,492, there are 76,508 boys, 70,980 girls, and 4 other transgenders. So the objective to ensuring, first of all, when we will discuss about the aim, the PM Care Fund aim is just considering the specifically for the children who are just lost their parents in the pandemics. And whenever we discuss about the objectives, that why the government is going to be provide moreover the help of a 10 lakh rupees for every children, it is the objective to ensure the comprehensive care. Care means when we are just start to looking the children from the education perspective, their social growth, their intellectual growth, and their physical growth as well, and sustained manner enable their well-being through health insurances specifically. So government is also going to provide the health insurance under the PM Care Funds, and empower them through the education. Empower through the education empowerment means the PM, under the PM Care Fund, they are just going they are definitely providing the education from the beginning till the and till the PhD if they want to go ahead in the higher education, and equip them to the self-sufficient existence with the financial support of reaching 23 years of the old. It means whenever the girl and the boy is not going to pass the graduation, the PM Care Fund is going to provide the not only the health insurance but also providing the empowerment in the education to the specifically for the those children's. And what you can see the SNEEP, everyone. This is all about the Indian Express, Financial Express, and they are just mentioning about the PM Modi launches PM Cares for Children scheme, rupees moreover 4,000 monthly. And these are the basic needs, so the children are easily can survive with their food, shelter, and their clothes. And the need and the education loan. Education loan means if the student is liable to take the education loan from the bank, so this is the responsibility of the government that they fulfill the loans of the students till the age of 23. Free treatment benefits, the free treatments, the medical helps is completely free to those students, those children. And whenever we discuss about the PM cares for of COVID affected children, PM cares for COVID affected children. So whenever we discuss about the aim, or we can say the objectives as well, so PM cares fund for COVID affected children, government stands with the children who lost their parents due to COVID-19 specifically. This is the number one. If the question is directly asked on sometimes as per the mains perspective, the question will ask on directly that what type of the initiative the government is taking specifically for the children or the students who are suffered in the COVID-19. So definitely you can give the example of a PM Care Fund. And whenever you discuss about the aim and objectives of the PM Care Fund, or we can say the initiative of the government, we cannot forget about the government stands with the children who lost their parents due to COVID-19. Number one, the government is providing the free education to the students from the beginning till the 23 year of the age, or till the taking the higher education, and to ensure for children who lost their parents to COVID-19. And this is all about the app, everyone. Now, PM Cares for the Children launched for support and empowerment of COVID-19 affected children. So what is the aim and what is the reason, what are the factors behind it, and what type of the objectives that we needed to improving, to enhancing the government's the all these the factors. Government stands with children who lost their parents due to COVID-19, and such children to get a monthly stipend once they turned 18, and a fund of 10 lakh where they turn 23 from PM cares. They are getting moreover monthly 4,000 rupees for their fulfilling their own basic needs. Free education to be ensured for the children who lost their parents in COVID-19. Free education means from the beginning till the end of the till the age of a 23, or the further if the children is will completely just if the children is completely going to be ahead for the further higher education, and the children will be assisted to get an education loan for a higher education, and PM cares will pay the interest to the all the loans. And number 5, we can say this is somehow a very interesting point, where the children will get free health insurances of 5 lakh under Ayushman Bharat. And Ayushman Bharat is not only the new concept for the PM care fund, this is already introduced from last 5 to 6 years ago, before the pandemic of COVID-19. And this Ayushman Bharat card is helping specifically for the people who are belonging from the below poverty line. And this is somehow the Ayushman Bharat is providing the credibility, we can say, we can say ensure the free medical help lines, moreover 5 lakh rupees until 18 years. And this is the somehow the initiative of the government for the COVID-19 children as well until 18 years, and premium will be paid by the PM cares. Children represented the future of the country, and we will do everything to the support and protected the children. This is the wording of the Mr. Narendra Modi, our PM, our Prime Minister. According to Mr. Prime Minister, he just want to ensure that every children is living in India is not alone actually, and we are just providing each and every facility which is important to growth for the children, either the physical, we can say the physical growth, the mental and the intellectual growth, with the help of the free education. So this is the whole responsibility of the government, that they are taking the responsibility of all the children who are belonging from the suffered classes. Specifically, they lost their parents in the COVID-19, and it is our duty as a society to care for our children and instill hope for the bright future. And it is a whole sum of the guidelines of Mr. Narendra Modi to the society, specifically the people who are existing in the society, and they almost suffered, or they somehow suffered with the problems of COVID-19. They are just guiding the people that they have to be motivate the children, they just take care of the children, and it is the responsibility of the society that they have to be ensure that they just inculcate the ethical values in it, and somehow they are just going to be make their future more bright and more prosperous, right? So this is all about the PM care for the children, and these are the points that we are discussing about as the point of opinion, as objectives, and we can say aim as well. So these points are very important as per the examination perspective. If the question is directly asked on the that what type of the initiative the government is taken who the children or the people who suffered in the COVID-19. Now, India fights corona. We can say this was the difficult time that we spent in COVID-19, everyone, and this difficult time, definitely we can say spending, and we learned a lot actually. We learned that it is very important to take care for the health, and it is very important to understand to everyone. It is very important to work on the intellectual ability as well, and it is very important to work on the medical facilities, that the people who already suffered with the medical facilities. COVID-19 just guiding to everyone, and somehow just we can say it is somehow the threaten to the India, not only the economic perspective but also as the social perspective as well. So you can say that hashtag India fights corona, and this is the PM care fund for the children. Empowerment of the COVID-19 affected children. Empowerment when we are looking the social, the intellectual, the physical empowerment, and when they are looking for the education loan for the higher education, that they are providing moreover 10 lakh rupees loan, right? And children will get free health insurance of rupees 5 lakh under The Ayushman Bharat till 18 years, free education to be ensured to the children, rupees 10 lakh from the PM Care Fund when they turn 23rd, and to care for the children who lost their parents due to the COVID-19, monthly stipend, moreover 4,000 of rupees of the stipend that they are giving to the students, to the children who suffered with the affected or suffered in the COVID-19 and who lost their parents in COVID-19. PM Care for Children, some of the students earlier asking me about that, how we can apply. So this is the information for those students who are needed of the information, or definitely you can separate the information for further. So what you have to be done, actually you just log in the official website www.pmmodisscheme.in. Later on you can just register yourself. pmcareforchildren.in has been launched to the register for benefits. You can register yourself, you can just put it your details in it, and definitely you can get the benefit of the PM Care Fund, right? So this is the information for the student who suffered actually, and this is the information for the students who are just pass the information to their other peer groups. You can see everyone on the next page whenever you put it the whole registration on the screen. And this is all about the PM Care for Children scheme was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister. Their website is showing like that somewhere, and you can put it your whole the details, and you can see these are the application received by the government yet. Moreover, 9,4,233 states, 611 districts, 4,345 application are already approved, 31 states are approved, and 557 districts are going to be approved their applications. So you can say this is the website of the PM Care Fund, where you can put it your information, your details, and you can register yourself as well, where you can get the whole detail, and you can assist yourself financial support, higher education, supporting of the boarding and loading everyone. They are just getting moreover the 5 lakhs rupees of the health insurance, assisting of the school education, the admissions in the schools, and scholarship that they are providing moreover the 20,000 for all school going children, and rest of the on the another basis they are just going to provide moreover 4,000 rupees for the students who are looking for their basic needs with the help of the with the support of the PM Care Fund. So this is somehow a very good initiative. On the other hand, definitely I would just like to mention one more point everyone, that this initiative, the screen is completely visible, but still I'm just mention the dates here. This is all about this initiative is already taken by the government in the 11th March 2022, and this initiative is now implemented and approved. So if you have any of the person that the person still in your non, so you can just pass the information, or you can just go ahead with the same information with the registration if you suffered in COVID-19 and if you lost your parents in the COVID-19. Fine. So okay, good morning, Mr. Sadhana. Okay, Sadhana, very good morning. So this is all about the next information everyone for current update. Now we are just going to, okay, I would just like to sum up everyone. I hope my screen is visible to everyone, and you can see the screen. What about the PM Care Fund? The first initiative you can see on the screen. The first, you can see the government has set up the Prime Minister Citizen Assistant Fund. This is the full form emergency situation. This is all about, you can say, the PM Care Fund fundings. Fine. This is all about the PM Care funding to deal with any kind of emergency or distress. Emergency means this is not about the COVID-19. That's why this PM Care Fund is already established in 2020. And just because of the COVID-19, PM Care Fund is already working specifically for the disaster, managing the disaster, the tsunamis, right? And this PM Care Fund is somehow very much helpful to everyone. And the fund is public, charitable, everyone, trust with the Prime Minister, Chairman, other members including Defense Minister, the Home Minister, and the Finance Minister. And number 3, definitely you can discuss about the fund enable the micro donation, that the donations amount is very less, and while the charge number of the people will be able to contribute, so you can definitely contribute if you are able to contribute in the PM Care Fund. The smallest, we are just looking for the small funding. It will strengthen disaster management capacities, that you know very well that earlier we suffered with the not only with the COVID-19, but definitely after that we are just suffered with numbers of the weather problems. We have a tsunamis, the situation like floods are already created in the areas of the Assam and the Meghalaya's as well. So you can see that the disaster management PM Care Fund is somehow encouraging, they motivated the disaster management team so that they build up their capacity and encourage research on the projecting citizens, that how they can protect the citizens in for the further epidemics and how they can prepare further themselves if the problems like COVID-19 and the other problems like pandemic or epidemic is going to be arising later on or in the future. And what are the other children related initiative taken by the government during COVID-19? So the earlier information that I already given to specifically regarding the PM Care Fund, where I already mentioned everyone about the initiative of the government for the COVID-19 suffered, or we can say impacted students who already suffered with the problems, we can say, who already lost their parents. I'm totally fine, Sadhna. And this is about the information, everyone. You can say the PM Care Fund, that the students, the children, the other initiative of the government for other children. So we have a first initiative. You can say that the first initiative they are showing on the first initiative, the Bal Swaraj COVID Care, the National Commission of Project of the Children Right, NCPCR, has devised an online tracking portal, Bal Swaraj COVID Care, for children in need of a care and protection. And this has been created with the purpose of an online tracking system, and this is a digital real and monitoring the mechanism of the children who are in need of a care and protection. So this is the second initiative, we can say. This is the Bal Swaraj COVID Care, and this is somehow tracking by the government of the India, and they are just always looking for the need of their care and their protection under the next PM Care Fund. You can see on the screen, everyone. The next initiative, they are just, you can see on the screen, everyone. The second initiative the government is taken for the children except the COVID-19, that PM Vidya, PME Vidya. This is all about the digitalization of the education. On 17th of the May 2020, a comprehensive initiative called PME Vidya was initiated as per part of Atmanirbhar Bharat, where we will try to be address the students on the digital platform, where we will try to address the students on the online platform. So the maximum participation of the students who belong from far-flung areas, who belong from the rural areas, or who belong from the national or the international level, they can just join the classes on the same platform with the existence of the digital platforms with the help of PME Vidya. And we have a third platform, you can say, which is all about the Manodarpan. If I'll bifurcate the word, this Manodarpan, it is all about the counseling session, we can say. Definitely, this is the whole online platform for the students who already looking for their career counsel, so they can directly to the contact to the all the teachers who are just existing in the CBSE schools, and the professors who are already existing in the leading universities like IITs and the central universities as well. So the students can get their answers as well. They can ask the question, they can ask the doubts. And Manodarpan is somehow just completely relating the other factors with the mental ability, that COVID-19 people are somehow suffered with the mental problems as well. So Manodarpan is just giving the transparency, just giving the glance, and somehow Manodarpan is just motivating the students and the individual people who are living in India, and they can ask their all the questions related with their education, the mental growth as well, and they are liable to ask anything. So this is all about the free platform for the students. And number 4, definitely we cannot ignore about its aim to provide the psychological and support to the students, the family members, the teachers for their mental health, because mental health has become the biggest issue in these days, and well-being during the times of the COVID-19. So these are the problems of the that occurred in the COVID-19. So this is the somehow the initiative by the government that they are taking, the hello Aman, very good morning, that they are taking for the students or the people or the learners who suffered with these problems specifically in the COVID-19. So these are about the rest of the information of the schemes that is taking the initiative by the central government of India. Now you can see the next slide everyone, Manodarpan and psychological support. Whenever you log in on the MHRD site, MHRD is now going to be considered only Ministry of Education. Fine. So this is all about the Manodarpan, we can say. Whenever we log in on the Google Manodarpan, the whole slide is just going to showing in this way everyone. And psychological support for mental health and well-being of our students during the COVID-19 outbreak and the beyond. This is the somehow a very positive initiative by the MHRD Ministry of Education, that they are showing to the learner, the students, the individual people who suffered with their own mental health, right? And now this is all about this session everyone, that I already representing you moreover two current update in this session. I hope this session is completely helpful to everyone. The first session is completely just covered about the whole QS ranking, where I already explained you that what is the meaning of a QS ranking, how the QS ranking is working actually, the parameters of the QS ranking, and later on I already mentioned about the PM Care Fund and the rest of the initiatives of the government of India that they are taking specifically for the students or the learners or the individual person or citizen of India who already suffered with the problems of COVID-19, with the mental health, with the physical growth, with the intellectual ability. So this is the website of a Manodarpan, so you can visit easily. So now this is all about the current update which is prevalent in these days everyone. And whenever we discuss about the approaches of the question, the first question definitely ask on the QS ranking about the situation, we can say the higher education, the situations on the reformation in the education, and the rest of the things. The PM Care Fund, the question will definitely ask on the challenges of the people who suffered in COVID-19, and definitely you have to mention by using the heading that PM Care Fund, Manodarpan, PM E-Vidya, the initiative of the government is taken by the people, so that they will learn a lot, and the initiative of the government is going to be helpful to everyone, right? So this is all about the session. I would like to sum up the session everyone in two sections, you can see on the screen. The first thing that I will mention on the QS ranking, the QS ranking, right? And in this QS ranking, if I am discussing the question as the prelims perspective, right, that what type of the question asked on the prelims perspective. So definitely the question is directly will be asked on the rankings, that what are the rankings of the India, that what are the rankings of the world ranking of the universities. And whenever we discuss the question as per the need of the mains perspective, definitely the question is asked not only directly on the QS ranking, but also the question is directly asked on the higher education. Right, higher education is what? Whenever we discuss about the reforms and whenever we discuss about the challenges. Fine. So these are the important aspects of the QS ranking. So definitely you can mention easily. Reforms, definitely you can discuss about all the positive points everyone. And challenges, you can definitely discuss about that what it is the need of the improvement. What we needed for the improvement. Fine. So this is all about the QS ranking everyone. The prelims perspective, that the question is asked directly on the ranking. The question might be asked on the facts as well, and sometimes the question is directly asked on the QS ranking, the world ranking like MIT, and whenever we discuss about the Indian context, that we have a very good example of ISC Bengaluru, IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, then IIT Delhi, then IIT Kanpur, that, right? So we have to remember moreover the three position on the world ranking and rest of the three position of the India QS ranking, which are important as per the need of the we can say as per the prelims perspective in 2023, and definitely for the mains perspective the question is directly asked on the role of the higher education, the reformation, the challenges, and one more important thing, surely the question might be asked on the need. right? So this is all about the first question. Now the next question in we already discussed about the PM Care Fund. PM Care Fund. Whenever we analysis this current update as per the need of the prelims perspective, surely the question will ask on the facts and the datas. Fine. And the schemes, surely we can say about the schemes. Right, schemes. So what you have to be mentioned there. The first thing about the facts we can say, we can definitely put it the name of the E-Vidya. Fine. Definitely we can put it the name of a Manu Darpan. Right. So these are the points, everyone. And 10 lakh rupees. 10 lakh rupees to every children. We can say the 4,000 rupees as per their own basic needs monthly. These 10 lakh rupees when they are going to be 23. When they will be 23, and these are the basic needs, so government is providing on the monthly basis. Fine. So this is the other outcome of the PM Care Fund. And whenever we looking the question as per the mains perspective, whenever we looking the question as per the need of the mains perspective, definitely the question will ask directly on the need, we can say. The question is asked on the initiative of the governments. Initiative of the government, and definitely the question they will ask on the that what about the mental health, right? The educational empowerment of the students, or we can say they're the childrens who lost their parents, in COVID-19. Fine. COVID-19. So what the question definitely they will make on it, that what is the initiative of the government, the need, the factors we can say, and one thing, the future perspective. The future perspectives. For example, if this type of the pandemics and epidemics, if they will create later on or affected India later on, so are we really prepared or not? So the question will directly on the same sense of scenario. Fine. Okay, so this is the this is all about the session, everyone. We can say the current update. Now we are just going to discuss about the Quit India movement. Never let the spirit die. Right, Quit India movement. Day that we are celebrating on 8th of August 2020, one earlier last year. So in this session we are just going to discuss about the history section, the answer writing section. So you can see the question, everyone, on the screen. The Quit India movement, more than they are asking about the anything. The Quit India movement, more than anything, united the Indian people against British rule. So this is such a very important question, everyone, and we are just going to discuss about the Quit India movement, their role, their factors behind it, their reasons. We are just going to discuss, and we are just going to discuss the approach, and we will try to conclude the whole questions need as per the need of the discussion, and as per the need of we can say as per the sometimes the question is asked directly in the mains perspective, so definitely you will just go ahead with the same way. You can see the Quit India movement. This is a very brief introduction you can see on the screen, everyone. The Quit India movement. The India is observing 77th anniversary of Quit India movement on August 8. right? And in 1942, All India Congress Committee approved the Quit India resolution in Bombay session. So this was the first time in the Bombay session that we decided for the Quit India movement in 1942. Quit India movement, when we definitely decided that we just choosing the situation of do and die. And Quit India movement was launched at Mumbai's Gwalior Tank Maidan, now popularly known as the Agast Kranti Maidan, on 8th of August 1942. So this is somehow a very basic, very factual information, not only as the need of the prelims perspective, but definitely you can write down all these points in the mains perspective as well. Right. So let's move ahead. Approaches. Whenever you discuss the question, it is a very important to understand the question first of all, that what is the question is exactly want to explain. The question is exactly just suggesting us on the discussion, we can say, and the discussion is all about the examination of the whole question. And whenever we discuss about the approach, it is a very first important point that we will have to explain that what about the Quit India movement briefly. Number two, discuss the success of the movements in the uniting Indian people against the British rule, because Quit India movement, it was the time when Mahatma Gandhi is just taking the slogan of a do and die. And this was the last moment when the people are completely they just come out from their own homes, and they just want to get rid of the sufferedness of the British Empire. And that's why they discuss the success of the movements. So in this second point, it is very important to discuss the success movements behind it, that why it is happened actually, and how the Quit India movement just culminating the whole population in one mainstream line, and also discuss the failure of the movement. So in this question, it is it is a somehow very dicey question, we can say surely. And why it is dicey? Because Quit India movement, this was the last movement in the national movement in 1942, and finally we got the freedom in 1947. So it is a very important to discuss that what is the question is exactly want to say, that what whenever we discuss the points on the succession, succession is somehow related on the movements in the uniting the people, right? It doesn't matter that in which category or in which section you have to be belong, you had to belong. And failure of the movement, whenever we discuss about the reasons behind it, that why the movement is failed, right? And this movement is failed, but definitely we got the freedom in 1947 as well. So what about the reason behind it, that why Quit India movement is failed completely, even though it is yet leadership by the Mahatma Gandhi. And concludely, definitely we will just mentioning about each and every aspects of it, thus the reasons of the succession, the reasons of the failure, and definitely we will mention about the importance of the Quit India movement and what is the reason behind it for the failure. And surely when we will conclude the answer, we have to be mentioned about the mass unity of the people, because in Indian scenario we have a numbers of the movements. We have a 1947, we have a 1757, we have a already 1857. But we whenever we fought in the movements, definitely all the movements are not successful, but surely the success is completely overcome by the unity of the people, by the mass of the people. Fine. So it is a very important to conclude by the unity and unification of the people. So on the 8th of the August 1942, while start the question, it is a very important to understand that what we are understand with the question. See, the question is directly asked on the Quit India movement. The Quit India movement. Fine. And what they ask in the question? Ask in the question, why I'm asking all these things? I'm just asking all these things because it is very important to analysis the question. The question is asked on the examination. The question is directly asked on the examinations. Right, the examination. Right, and what we are just going to discuss about the impact. Impact one on what? The unity of mass, and mass on what? The social and the political. Fine. And we will discuss about the reasons. We will discuss about the reason. Reason of what? The success we can say, and we will discuss about the failure as well. Failure means definitely we will discuss about the not the whole factors. Failure and success, definitely we can say they are two sides of one coin, because if we are just going to discuss about the succession of anything, so definitely this the points of the successions surely will become the part of the failure as well. For example, we will get the unity in the Quit India movement as per the social perspective, as per the political perspective, as per the need of society, and as the need of the political perspective. But definitely we will succeeded the movement, but surely we will just going to be failed later on, because we are not because we were not got the freedom in 1947. We still took more over 5 to 6 years to get the freedom later on 1947. So this is the whole sum of the question, and we can divide the question in 3 segments. Quit India movement. Right. So what we are just going to mention in the question, everyone. First of all, it is very important to discuss about the, just a minute. It is very important to discuss about the understanding of the question. Understanding of the questions. Right. Number 2, they are asking about the approach. Number 3, they are just asking about the mid body. Sorry, the key words. And later on, we can definitely say that the conclusion. The conclusions we can say. So what about the understanding of the question? The question is directly on the examination. The question is directly asking on the examination. And what about the approach? Then we have to be bifurcate the approach in 3 segments. The first is about the introduction. The second is about the mid body. And the third is about the conclusion. Right. So what we are going to write down in the introduction? We have to be mention the explanation of Quit India movement. Right. And what about the mid body? We will discuss about the mass unity and the failure and the succession of the mass, as because already why we are discussing all these things? We are discussing all these things because mass movement and the failure succession, why it is happened actually, still the Mahatma Gandhi is just leading the Quit India movement in 1942 yet. And what about the conclusion? Whenever we will showing the transparency of the question, that we are interconnected the question with the examination, the intro, the mid body and the conclusion. And what about the keywords? The keywords of the question surely is not, we cannot ignore the fraternity, we can say the equality, we can say, and we can say the freedom as well. So these are somehow a basic points and basic points of the Quit India movement. Fine. Now, so what about the introduction, everyone? You can see on the screen. On 8th of the August 1942, Mahatma Gandhi gave a clarion call specifically to end the British rule. To end up the British rule, and launched to the Quit India movement, where we are looking for the succession, where we are looking for the session of the All India Congress committee in Mumbai or Bombay. And Mahatma Gandhi gave the call that do or die in speech delivered in the Gwalior Tank Maidan. Right, and this Maidan is also known as the August Kranti, August Revolution. So this is all about the introduction, that how the Quit India movement is started. This is all about the question, that how the Quit India movement started. Right, one extra point that we are added here about Mahatma Gandhi, that the call of Mahatma Gandhi of do and die situation in Quit India movement. Causes of the movement, everyone. Whenever we discuss about the question, it is very important to discuss about the, we can say, the causes, the reasons, the, we can say, the factors behind it of the Quit India movement. So the first thing, the immediate cause of the movement was the collapse of Cripps mission, and this mission failed because it offered India not complete freedom but the dominion status, along with the partition. Fine. So this is somehow a very relevant point in it, and in this paragraph it is very important to explain that what is Cripps mission, what is what are the dominion states on that time, and why the mission is failed completely. So it is a very important to mention. And in 2022, the question is directly came on Cripps mission as well, on the factual basis. So you also check the facts and everything. The British assumption of the unconditional support from the India to the British in the World War II in 1945. Fine. And it was not taken well by the Indian National Congress, that they completely rejected the deal. And the anti-British sentiments and demand of the full independence had gained popularly, we can say, among Indian masses. And shortage of the essential, because earlier on the time of the First World War in 1914, we already started to support the British Empire completely unconditionally, and we completely agreed with the participation of 1914, because somehow we are just hoping that British Empire completely left them and just providing India as a free India later on, but it was not happened actually. So they are somehow disappointed, and when the same situation arising in 1945 again on the time of World War II, they are just somehow hoping for the not participation in 1945, and that's why the situation is arising like 1942, when the Mahatma Gandhi already gave the call of do and die situations, right? And shortage of the essential commodities, the economy was in the shatters as a result of the World War II. And what was happened actually, whenever the war is happened in anywhere, this is the somehow the impact of the wars on the economy, and somehow the economies definitely or surely impacted the people who completely belong from the middle class families or the poor class family, and the shatteredness of the economy is somehow impacted the basic needs of the people as well. So this is somehow 2 or 3 points of the causes of the movement. Definitely you have to explain about the Cripps mission, then what is the reason behind World War II as well, right? Because Japan is already defeated. We have already the example of Subhash Chandra Bose, that Subhash Chandra Bose already left India and just went out for the Russia, but their plane is crashed later on. Anti-British sentiments, the demands of the full independence, and gained popularity among the Indian masses, that we cannot forget the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi as well. And what about the essential commodities, the basic needs, the food, shelter and the cloth? And that's why the Indians completely refused to participation of 1945, and they completely rejected the offer of Cripps mission, which arriving in India earlier, before 1945. You can see everyone about the Cripps mission, that this image is stand for Cripps, and Cripps mission is somehow introducing by him. And the British had to be forced military setbacks the early years of World War II, that I already explained you, right? The second point, you can surely see that in order to get support of Indian political parties, government a mission to sent a government to subcontinent headed by Mr. Stanford Cripps, and Cripps tried to unite all political parties on some points, and he requested to the people that they have to be participated in the second war of independence, second World War 1945. And the mission had come demand for the Pakistan throughout the Pakistan resolution. Muslim had already made the demand of a Muslim country, and the Congress had launched its movement against the government, which is 1942 Quit India movement. And the Cripps mission already we have. The Cripps mission that we already have is completely rejected the ideas, and it is completely rejected by the Indian people. So what about the body, everyone? Whenever we discuss about the body and or we can say the mid body, it is very important to discuss about the sub points of the successions. In the body, we are just going to discuss about both the points, the succession and the rejection, the failure or the succession. The first point, in the succession of the movement, the rise of the nationalism, the greater sense of unity. The greater sense of unity and brotherhood emerged due to the Quit India movement. Due to the Quit India movement, and many students dropped out of schools and colleges. People gave up their jobs and withdrew money from the banks as well. And what about the women participation? Definitely, we have to be made the second sub point of the women participation. I think in my earlier lectures, I already explained to you everyone about the role of the women in the Quit India movement specifically, and this question is very relevant as the mains perspective. And we cannot forget about the role of the women in all the freedom movement, specifically of 1919, 1942, 1947, and earlier we cannot forget the participation of the women in 1857. Right, so women took active participation in the movement, and female leaders like Usha Mehta helped set up a we can say underground radio station, which led to be the awakening about the movement. And Usha Mehta is just participating in All India Radio AIR, and she tried to inform the all the mass or all the people with the help of radio. She tried to be get together the people on the same platform. So we cannot forget the contribution of Usha Mehta in 1942 in Quit India movement as per the participation of the women. And what about the rise of the future leaders? Underground activities, like if I am talking about the revolutionary activities, that we cannot forget about Subhash Chandra Bose, about we can say the underground activities were taken by the leaders that included Ram Manohar Lohia, JP Narayan, Aruna Asif Ali, Biju Patnaik, Suchetra Kripalani, which later emerged as a prominent leaders and paved the way of the independence, right? So this the rising of the future leader doesn't mean that we are inculcating something new things. The hindrance and the rising of the future leaders is already existing it, right? We cannot forget the name of like revolutionary leaders Bhagat Singh, Bal Gangadhar Tilak as well. Fine, so this is all about the participation. On the another hand, Mahatma Gandhi is just try to be teach the masses and to adopting the non-violence. But on the other hand, the rising of the future leaders, that the people like Ram Mohan Lohia and Aruna Asaf Ali, they are somehow violent opinions and they are not going to be adopt the non-violence. They just want to get rid out the Britishers out of India, and they are just after the call of Mahatma Gandhi do and die, they are just decided to just get rid out of British Empire by hook by crook and pave the way of independence. When we looking for the simple and paved path, well, Quit India campaign was crushed in 1944, and this movement was lost in within 2 years. And within the British refused to grant, and they are just refusing to giving the grants. And grants means they are just completely ignored that they are not going to leave India anymore. And immediate independence, saying it is concluded, happen only after the war had ended, and they directly said it is only happened if the war is completely ended over. And they came to be the important realization that India was ungovernable in the long run due to the cost of the World War II. And what is happening at the last, the challenged the nature of the political negotiation. Political negotiation when the Britishers were completely adopting the ideology of the separation of the India, number one. And number two, when they completely decided that they're not going to free up the India till the end of the World War II. And then number three, the challenges of the political negotiation with the Britishers, that the participation of the both the countries, the Indian and the Britishers, still going on till the end of the World War II or after the World War II. But somehow India is not going to accept it, and they completely rejected the ideology of the British Empire. And what is happening at the last, ultimately paving the way of India's independence in 1947, when the Indians completely rejected the ideas and the we can say the ideology of the British Empire that completely imposed by the British Empire in 1942. Okay, failure of the movement. Earlier we are discussing about the succession, everyone, and this is the Hmm. And this is all about the failure of the movement. So what is the failure of the movement? Why the movement is failed? So we are just going to discuss about the reasons. We're going to discuss about the reasons, we can say. We're going to discuss about the factors as well. Right. Brutal repressions, right? The movement saw violence at some places. Why it is going to be violence? Because earlier I already explained the points of the participation of the revolutionary people who completely just handling everything on the behalf of the violence, and on the another hand Mahatma Gandhi just handling the people on the ideology of non-violence. So this is somehow we can say happened just because of the disunity. People are not unified on the same level. Quit India movement, if we will looking the positive aspect, definitely it helps to unify the mass movement 1942. But definitely the reason behind it, behind the failure of the movement, because people are just putting their each and every ideas, the revolutionary, the non-revolutionary, the people, the tribal areas, the peasantry class, they just want to get rid of a Britisher by hook and by crook, right? And at places which were not permeated. And second thing, the movement was violently suppressed by the British. First of all, Britishers were completely denied that they are not going to left India till the time phase of 1945, till the end of the World War II. And people were shoot, lathi charged, villages burnt, and enormous fines imposed. And number three, overall, we can say, moreover, 1 lakh people were arrested, and the government resorted in the violence order to the crush the agitation. So what is happening at the later on? The movement is completely crushed down. This movement is completely ended over by the suppression of the British Empire. This is all about the app, everyone, and this is a very easy to download the app. What you have to be do, first of all, you can just write down the example Sarkari Naukri app. Later on you can just install it, and after install it, you can just register yourself. You can log in with your registered number and your email ID. And definitely this is completely helpful for the aspirants who are just looking for their government jobs, and they just want to go ahead with the government job in their future. So in with this app, definitely it is helpful for the students who have the doubts. You can definitely join the live sessions on the YouTube and the application classes. You can select the demo classes, you can take the PDFs as well. So this app is completely helpful, and you will just go ahead with the counseling in your career while downloading the app, and you can directly join the Zoom links apps, and you can just talk to the faculty and your teachers specifically regarding with all these things with your we can say, if you have any doubt and any questions. Now let's move ahead, everyone. When we will discuss about the lackness of the support, the second point is a lackness of a support. The second point is lack of support. Number one, Muslim League, the Communist Party, India had the Hindu Mahasabha did not support the movement, right, and support the movement, and the Indian bureaucracy also did not supported the movement, right. So everywhere, whenever we discuss about the unification of the India, the united people, in this united people, right, the people who are belonging from Hinduism, like the Mahasabha, we can say the Mahasabha, Hindu Mahasabha, and the rest of the people who belong from a Muslim League. The Muslim League, which is found in 1906, they are not going to support the Indian bureaucracy and the leader who taking the initiative to make the India free. So this is the lackness of the support, first of all. Number two, we cannot forget the name of a Subhash Chandra Bose. We cannot forget the name of Subhash Chandra Bose, organized the Indian National Army, INA, right, and the Azad Hind government from outside the country. And after heard the news of defeating of Japan in 1942, Subhash Chandra Bose decided to went out Russia, And again, we can definitely say that the lackness of support is still we are suffering in 1940 or 1945. And what about the Congress members like C. Rajagopalachari resigned from the provincial legislature, and they did not favor Mahatma Gandhi's idea that because Rajagopalachari just looking for the violence policies and the direct action, but on the behalf of a Mahatma Gandhi somewhere, Mahatma Gandhi that always said that we are looking for the people who are just choosing the ideology of non-violence. So it is very important to discuss everything. It is very important to analysis. It is very important to realization, the mass unity. It is very important to put it the people on the mainstream. So it is such a very difficult task as per the opinion of Raja Gopalachari. So that's why he resigned from all the provincial legislature, and Mahatma Gandhi is not completely agreed with the Raja Gopalachari opinion and the contradiction of the opinion. Not only Subhash Chandra Bose, the Muslim League, the Hindu Mahasabha, and the opinions like Mahatma Gandhi somehow is make the 1942 Quit India movement a lackness of the support and lackness of the we can say the mismatch of the ideas make the movement more unsuccessful. And what about the conclusion, everyone? That whenever we discuss about the conclusion specifically of Quit India movement, and you can see on the screen, the newspaper on the screen is helping you to just showing this is 1942 that Mahatma Gandhi, we can say Maulana Azad and Nehru arrested, and Nehru almost spending moreover 16 years in the jail. And Quit India movement was the spontaneous participation of the masses and compared the other Gandhian movement like non-cooperation and civil disobedience, right? And the great significance of the historic movement was the place the demand of the independence on the immediate agendas of the national movement, right? So this is all about the what we are looking the national movement. So what happened in the non-cooperation 1922, everyone, just because of the incident of the Chori Chora, Mahatma Gandhi completely suspended the non-cooperation movement, and on that time also the numbers of the people were not agreed with the ideology of Mahatma Gandhi, and that's why they separated from different ways. That we have a very good example of a we can say the Nehru and the Raja Gopalachari, the next movement. We have numbers of the movements that we happened on that time. And after Quit India movement, what is happening at the last, that after Quit India movement there could be no retreat, right? It is difficult to regain, and independence was no longer a matter of bargain. Then independence, the people who are looking on the revolutionary participation, that we cannot forget the name of Aruna Asaf Ali, we cannot forget the name of Raja Gopalachari, Nehru, and his became amply clear after World War II. And just because of the Cripps mission, that they already just called to the Indian people on just called to Mahatma Gandhi, and they are not going to left India before the final or ended results of the World War II. So this is somehow definitely we can say what is happened actually. Surely we cannot ignore the acceptance of the Quit India movement, that it helps a lot, but it is somehow just providing us the same results that what we got in the non-cooperation movement in 1922. So this is all about the question, everyone. I think this is completely helpful, and you have to be somehow understand the question. Okay. Okay. So what they ask actually, the question is basically asked on the Quit India movement. The question is asked on the Quit India movement. Fine. So what we done actually in the question, first of all, we understand the question, what the question is exactly want to say. Understand the question. Later on, we decide the approach. Then we choose the keywords in the question. We choose the mid body. Then we reached on the conclusion. Then we read on the reach on the conclusion. Fine. So what about the understanding? Understanding, the question is completely asked on the examination. The question is asked on the examination, right? Examination means what? When we discuss about the impact, the reasons, the outcome, fine. And what about the approach, everyone? What we got from the approach actually? In the approach, we bifurcate the question in 3 segments. The first is introduction, right? That what the introduction, that what we write down in the introduction, fine. So here we are just going to explain about the Quit India movement, how it is started actually. And what about the keywords when we discuss about the succession and when we discuss about the failure of the movement. What about the movement when we compare the non-cooperation movement? When we compare about the non-cooperation movement, with whom? The Quit India movement. And also we are discussing the conflict in the opinions. Conflict in the opinions. Of whom? The Mahatma Gandhi and the people who are not completely agreed with Mahatma Gandhi's opinion. Right. Now, and what about the conclusion? In this conclusion, while understanding the question, we are just looking for the national movement. We are just looking for the national movement. National movement when we are looking for the national unity. When we are looking for the national unity, we can say the mass unity. Right. And why we fail actually? We can say the conflicts, right? Impact of World War II, the economic suppression, right? And these are somehow the surely we can write down at the last that Quit India movement is failed surely, but it is helpful for the mass movement. Helpful for the mass movement. And one more point which is very important to discuss about: lackness of support. Lackness of support. Mass movement, surely we can write down that mass movement help to create the next platform of freedom struggle. In freedom struggle in 1947 under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. In short, I just mentioned there, you can write down the full aspects of everything. The conclusion, the national movement, the mass unity, you can say, right? The failure, the conflicts, we can say, impact of World War II, 1945, right? And what about the economic suppression? People are not able to fulfill their basic needs. Fine. And what about the mass movement, everyone? Mass movement is help to creating the next platform for freedom struggle 1947, and we got the freedom finally, right? So this is all about the Quit India movement, which is somehow very important as per the need, as per the understanding of your question. Now, we are next just discuss about the communalism, everyone, that how the communalism is working actually. How the communalism is working actually, and we will discuss about the terminologies as well. So this is all about 1 minute break, 2 minute break, everyone. We will get right back with the same session. I hope, I'm just hoping for the cooperation. Okay, everyone. So we are just going to resume this session now. I hope this session is this session is helpful for everyone. And earlier I already done the two sessions on current affairs and the rest of the one question on the answer writing practice of Quit India movement, where we discuss about the approach, where we discuss about the introduction. You can see you can choose the format of the answer writing if you are liable to choose the format of answer writing. This is Quit India movement. We already done and discussed everything. So the next approach of the question, everyone, that we are just going to done with the communalism, right? That why communalism is impacted not only India but the whole world, and how the word communalism is we can say what the definition of the communalism, why it is very important to know the definition of communalism, and how we can exactly understand the meaning of communalism, how the communalism impacted socially, culturally, religiously, and we have to be discuss about the norms, the condition, the positive, the negative impacts of the communalism, as per the perspective of Indian history, but as well as the perspective of the world history. And we will try to be correlate the two of the rest of the segments with the two segments with the rest of the up to the future, the upcoming generation, and some other points in the session. Now, this is all about the answer writing session, everyone. You can see on the screen. Okay, so the question is directly asked on the how far it is justified to say that the problem of communalism in modern India is product of colonial legacy, right? So this is somehow very perfect question. The question is directly asked on the how the justifies to say that the problem of communalism, right? The problem of communalism that we completely directly communalism in modern India is product of colonial legacy, right? How it is possible? So what they ask about the critical analysis, or we can say the examination of the question. Critical analysis, or the directly question is asked on the examination of the question, right? So what they ask actually, see, they ask about the how the communalism, how communalism impact, or we can say the output, or we can say the conclusion, right? Impact on whom? On modern India. On modern India. Impact on whom? The modern India. Communalism is somehow impacted by whom again? The colonial legacy, or we can say or we can say or what we can say, the colonial legacy, or what we can say, the colonial legacy or the British Empire. And what is the opinion of the British Empire? What is the conclusion of the British Empire? The situation of we can say divide and rule. Divide and rule. Right. And what is the definition of communalism? The definition of communalism, surely we can say divisions in religion plus caste, the sects and their ideas. right? So this is somehow happening in the communalism. So you can directly connect it. So you can directly connect it with the division of a rule, divide and rule, and the meaning of a division in communalism, in religion, in caste, in other sects, and in ideas, right? So this is the framework of the question, that what we understand with the question, what the question is exactly want to say us, right? Now let's move ahead with the you can see the meaning of the communalism. First of all, it is very important to understand the meaning of a communalism. We can say meaning, or we can say the definition, right? So where it is going to help you, everyone. It is going to help you in the introduction. The word communalism is derived from the word community, right? And it implies what? It implies somehow the extreme sense of pride, कि मेरा ज़्यादा अच्छा है, right? मेरा धर्म ज़्यादा महान है, right? into identification with one's own community, right? When we discuss about the community, we have a different community. Like India is a very diverse country. So we have a Hindus, right? We have a Hindus, we have a Muslim category, we have a Christians, we have a Jews as well, we have a numbers of the we can say Sikhism we have. So we have a different communities. So what about the meaning of extreme pride? When I started to propagate my own religion and said Hinduism ज़्यादा बेहतर है, Christianity से ज़्यादा अच्छा है, and Islam is far away from the Hinduism. So this is somehow showing the identification. Identification what? Identification is surely means when I'm just want to identify my own identity with my own community, right? When you start to identify my own identity with my own community, that from which religion I belong, from which religion, from which caste I belong, and this is somehow showing the sense of pride and sense of priority, right? Now, what about the factors promote the communalism? We can say about the reasons. Just a minute. When we show about the reasons, right, and we can say the aim, right? So what are the factors promote the communalism? Belief of one religion are presented as superior to those of the other religion. That I already told you when I started to identify myself by saying that I belong from this religion and this religion is more far away better from your religion. Now, when demands of one religious group are formed in opposition to another, because the question is completely asked on the they said that communalism is somehow the result of colonial legacy, right? So we cannot forget about the Muslim League, which found in 1906 under Aga Khan, when they started to asking for their own representation, their own separate representation. We cannot forget about the two nation theory as well. We cannot forget about the Pune Pact. So this is somehow the results of the colonial legacy which happened earlier but still impacted in the present time, 21st century, right? Now, when state power is used to establish domination of one religion group over the rest, that's why we have a, if I am just giving the example of a colonial legacy, that I have already given the example of 1947, that how after the division of India and Pakistan, how the people brutally killed by the different sects and religion, how the people gonna be the enemy of the Hindus and the Muslims as well in after 1947, or division of Hindustan and Pakistan. So we have a domination of one religion and one group. And what is the communal politics? That we cannot forget about the Cripps mission, we cannot forget about the Parliamentary reform. So this is somehow the outcome of the colonial legacy. Minto reform, and we cannot forget about the Government Act of India 1919, right? It based on the idea that religion is the principal basis of the social community, that the principal basis of the social community. And again I'm saying that the politics and the society is somehow interlinked with each other. Your politics specifically, if you are going to be politics on the religion, because it helps to be get more votes in present time. But if I am looking the example of a parliamentary reform in 1919 Government Act, so I am also giving the example of a communal politics which is completely related with the social community, right? And what is the social community? When we started to identify the priority and the pride of the religion in the in the society, and when we start to bifurcate the community in the different aspects on the name of religion, on the name of a caste, on the name of a other sects. Fine. Now, what are the cause? We can say the historical cause. Now in this cause, definitely we will try to correlate with the colonial legacy. The colonial legacy. The first cause we can say, or we can say the reasons. The first cause, definitely we can say the historical cause. The historical cause. Right. So what is the historical cause? What we can give the example? Surely we can give the example of 1919, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Surely we can give the example of a Government Act of India. And surely we can give the example of a 1922 Khilafat movement. Surely we can give the example of 1909, the Minto reform. And surely we can give example of a Pune Pact. So these are the historical cause. And what is the meaning of a divide and rule? Whenever I am discuss the word like divide and rule, definitely, okay. So whenever we discuss about the divide and rule policy, the British legacy is somehow the divide and rule policy is just inculcating in everywhere. Even though I am giving the example of Jallianwala Bagh massacre, even I am giving the example of Government Act. Even I am giving the example of a 1920 Khilafat movement, or I am giving the example of a 1909 Minto reform, and surely I am giving the example of a Pune Pact when we looking for the not only 1906, surely when we are looking for the Muslim League, and later on Pune Pact when we looking the separate representation of a lower class people or reserved class people. The Hindu-Muslim Union and States. The Hindu-Muslim Union and States, that we cannot forget about the two-nation theory policy. Right. Right. Okay. Now, and what about the government policy that I already explaining you, the 1919 Government Act, and about the 1935 the Government Act. And what about the economic status of the minority section and the society, and society is weak? The economic status of a minority section, right? The minority section. And what about the society is weak? Then definitely when we giving the example like Pune Pact, surely we can giving the example of Punjab. Surely we can giving the example of West Bengal, and we can say Bengal as well. 1905. When we have a existence of a surely that we have a existence of national unity somehow, but we are not going to pursue the national unity just because of the divide and rule policy as per the cause of the communal politics or communal causes and reasons. So what about the interdisciplinary approach, everyone? Interdisciplinary approach, why it is completely helpful for the aspirant to write down a very good answer writing. See, the disciplines in the historical research, a historian perspective is a very broad perspective, and historian cannot limit the scope of a history. So what we are just going to be judge here, the scope of a history. How can we correlate the scope of history with communalism? How we can correlate? How can we correlate the scope of history or the what is showing it, the broadness, and how we can correlate with communalism. Right, so what we are going to scope? The scope of history, the broadness. So broadness is in the social, politics, we can say polity as well, economic, division of states. How can we correlate with communalism as well? Socially, communalism, when we looking for a unequal status, unequal, we can say unequal social status, unequal social status. What about the politic? On the name of religion, on the name of religion. What about the economy? That we have a very good example of a 1919 Act. What about the division of a states? When we have a dominion states, right, and we have a province. On the another basis, we have a rest of the very good examples that we cannot forget about. The from the beginning, that we have a 1906, we have a Muslim League, foundation of a Muslim League. Later on, we have a Jallianwala Bagh massacre, we have a 1920 Khilafat movement, and we have a far away different the acts, specifically scope of history is giving in the sense of the colonial legacy, the divide and rule policy, the divide and rule policy. Okay, this is somehow the interdisciplinary studies. It's means somehow, definitely we can say that if the policies like communalism is separated in present time, that we cannot correlate the communalism, the word communalism, their factors, their reasons, their opinions, everything is with one factor. Definitely, whenever the things is happened, the terms like communalism, the communal politics, the religion, specifically not related with one factor, we have a numerous of the factors, and we can definitely say that the social history, the economic history, the religious history, the cultural history, the administrative and the political history as well. So what about the communal politics? What about the we can say the in interdisciplinary approach, we are just going to add on the colonial legacy. And what is the policy of the colonial legacy? The policy of a colonial legacy is just is completely up to on the divide and rule policy. And how it has completely impacted the Indian politics, the Indian unity. Okay. So what about the first point, the social history? We can say the social history as per the definition of colonial legacy, divide and rule policy, that the colonial people are not going to be provide the social equal status to the whole masses of the India, right? So how it can completely threaten the unity, that we are not getting the equality. Number two, surely we can add the policies like economy. We have a 1919 Government Act, and surely we can rest of the theories like drain of wealth as well. And what about the religion? What about the religion? When we have a very good example of a social religious movement, but still not we are not going to provide a special attention on the social religious movements, right? And what about the cultural history? When we are not giving the actual freedom to the people to using their own culture in a very diverse manner. And what about the administrative and politics? When we have a very good example of a 1919 Act, we have a dominion and we have a provinces. We have a Pune Pact as well, right? And we have a 1942 that we have a Cripps mission. And what is the real attitude of the colonial people when they are completely looking for the divide and rule policy? Why they are doing so? So that they are just getting more profit with the help of divide and rule policy. And also we cannot forget about the 1905, the Bengal partition. Right, so these are somehow the basic points. Points we can see the explanation, and you can make the heading as well, everyone, while writing everything about the social, about the we can say the economic, social, religious, cultural history. Fine. Now, what about the approach? Whenever we discuss about the question like communalism, it's a begin by defining the communalism and impact of colonialism on Indian society. Right, defining communalism and impact of colonialism on Indian society, and analysis the colonial policy. Intended to promote communal division, right? And conclusion, how can we conclude? Surely with the reference to constitution, ideals, and our assimilative culture. So this is somehow very important. In first of all, it is very important to discuss about the definition of communalism and the impact of colonization. Right, analysis, it is somehow dependent on the analysis of the question. So we are just going to analyze the colonial policy. And what are the colonial policy? The divide and rule policies, right? That I already counted numbers of the policy, that we have a 1905 Bengal partition, we have a 1906 the Muslim League Foundation, we have a 1917 when the extremes and the moderates are completely separated with each other. That I'm already giving the example of 1919 the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. We have a already government of act, and we have a 1909 we have already Morley Minto reform. So we have a numbers of the we can say the policies and intended to whom the promote the communal division, right? So somehow this is helpful to promoting the communal division when we started to divide the people, or when we started to rule on the people with the division and the divide and rule policies. And what about the conclusion with the reference to constitutional ideas? Constitutional ideas means what? Constitutional ideas specifically for the people who are looking for their own identification, and only looking for the pride of their own sense of religion. So what is happening at the last? This constitution is giving the equal right to everyone. So we cannot specify any of the religion. We cannot prioritize any of the religion in front of anyone, right? So this is somehow the elimination of the culture, because culture, this is somehow a very continuous process. And from with the help of a culture, with the help of the constitution, where we considered that we all are the part of Indian citizen, with the help of the culture, with the help of a diversion, surely we can decide that we are the not only the part of Indian citizen, but we have some responsibilities, we have some duties that we have to be make good harmony, good possibilities of development in India. So how it is happened actually, when we looking everyone with the equal eye, when we looking the humanity as per the above of the communalism, as per the above of the religion. Now you can see the map everyone on the screen. This percentage of Indians who were poor, and this is somehow showing the presentation of the communalism, and you can see the rest of the green part you are showing that this is somehow showing the division of the people. Surely we can say the percentage of the Indians who are poor. Why they are poor? Because they are somehow suffering with the basic needs. With the basic needs, and definitely we have examples of Maharashtra, Telangana, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, and we have a Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Haryana and J&K as well, 12.6%. And whenever we discuss about Bihar, right, this is somehow a 50% of the people who are suffering with the poverty, and they are just suffered below poverty line. And what about the introduction? That whenever we discuss about the term logis like communalism, is a term used to denote attempts to construct the religion, right? Attempts is what? Constructs of religion and ethics. See, it is a very important to understand the meaning of religion first of all, that what the religion exactly want to say. Religion is surely is defining everything in a very prosperous manner, and religion is somehow teaching us that how we can choose our path, how the humanity is everything, and how we can make our humanity more prosperous, more developed by inculcating the values. Fine. So the identity of insight strife, we can say, between the people identified as a different communities, it only happened and it only emerged when we start to identify our religion and identification of ourselves, when we are representing not only the nation, not only the citizen of India, specifically when we start representing ourselves on the behalf of the we can say on the communities, on the religion. And in the modern Indian society, communalism often translates into how in the violence, right? We cannot forget the example of Mumbai. And immediately we can see the prevalent social cohesion amongst different religion communities. When we have prevalent some social insecurity, not only the behalf as per the Indian citizen, but specifically with the violence and the social cohesion and religious communities. And India, since its ancient times, remained a multi-religious, plural society, free from religious, we can say, pogroms and violence. But the advent of the colonialism unsettled his social harmony. It means the threatening of the colonialism, the impact of colonialism, still we are suffered after 200 years. And colonialism somehow is emerging the seeds of division, the emerging the seeds of the religion, the Brahmancy, the Muslim, the Hindu, the Christianity, the Sikhism. That's why still we heard the lines of the separation, the different languages, the different culture, and somehow we heard the terminologies like Pakistan, Khalistan, and Punjab, and rest of the parts of it. So colonialism somehow unsettled this social harmony, which is completely not settled down yet after the long years ago, moreover after 200 years ago. This is the rest of the other example of a regionalism, the communalism and the secularism. This is somehow a very important terminology as per the need and as per the demand of the mains exams, everyone, whenever you're looking of it. See, whenever we are using the word communalism, that I already explained you, that is favors a single community, effects and reunions, manifest instruments of power and caused by the social issues. And what about the regionalism? Regionalism is somehow favors a single region, threat to stability of a nation, used as a political tool, and it is a manifestation of perceived inequalities while belonging to a large federalist structure, right, where the reasons, the separation of the states and the sharing power of the states and nation is showing in a very perfect manner. Secularism is somehow when the nation is completely religion free, neutral to all religion and group, seeks to foster unity and integrity. Secularism is neutral to all the religious, usually employed where multiple religion groups are presented. Fine. So this is somehow the definition of we can say on the part of a communalism. Now, whenever what is the exact definition of the body, that what we are going to write down. First of all, it is a very important to understand the communalism. We are just going to mention about the keywords, the important keywords. Right, later on in the body, it is very important to mention about the approaches, that what are the approaches we are choosing. The impact, surely we will discuss. Impact, we are discuss in two various bases. The first is the modern India. Or second, the colonial rule, or we can say the colonial legacy. Now, in many bases, the root of present day communalism could be tracked back to the colonial days. Right, when we start to going to be balance it, the colonial, when we start to balance the colonial rule and when we looking the same perspective with the colonial rule with the present day, the present day. The diversity of India offered British and other colonial powers. The diversity of India offered the British and the other colonial powers. Other colonial powers may surely we will mention about the Portuguese, the France, the Dutch and the Britishers. An opportunity to divide and rule. Right, when we will discuss about the diversity, the equality in the India offered to the British, the major plank of Indian policy was to create a rift between the two largest religious groups, the Hindus and the Muslims, that we cannot forget about the two nation theory. And the communal award. For this purpose, they resorted the different techniques like the misinterpretation of the history, the communal appeasement, languages and the policies. So how we can divide our present time? When we start to divide our present time with the misinterpretation of the history, right, the communal appeasement and language policies, it is very important to understand that how we can always differentiate the countries and how we can choosing the different factors to differentiate any of the country. For example, we have a very good example of a two nation theory, that the two nation theory we adopted, the division of a Hindustan and Pakistan is somehow definitely we can say the demand of the situation, but doesn't mean that we still threatening our present time, the present time of a 21st century with these type of the hurdles, that we are still threatening everything on and recognize the people on the same appeasement, on the communal appeasement, the languages and the policy that we formed before 200 years ago. Now, the English presented we can say distorted version of the Indian history, where ancient India was Hindu dominated, negating Buddhism and Jainism, and medieval history where Buddhism and Jainism discussing about the position of the equality, and humanism is above from the everything. Ancient India was a Hindu dominated and negating Buddhism and Jainism, and medieval India was marked by the rule of somehow tyrannical Muslim rulers. So whenever we discuss about the whole the division of the history, surely we bifurcated history in different bases. The first, when we start to differentiation from ancient till the time of the medieval, as the as the Hinduism, we can say the history of Hindu people, and the medieval phase is considered as the Islamic era. And the third phase, when we discuss about the modern India, that the British also created Hindu-Urdu controversy, which led to the establishment of the Hindi as the language of the Hindus and the Urdu as a Muslim tongue. So they are not only try to be divide the India on the basis of the colonial policy, but somehow they try to be divide India on the basis of the language, on the basis of the state, on the basis of the province, on the basis of the dominion states. Right. So this is the wholesome part of the area. You can say we have a very good example of 1905, which is completely unforgettable, everyone. That partition of Bengal is somehow showing a very good example of the colonial legacy policy, right? When we completely focusing on the British policy is completely focusing on divide and rule policy. When they started to giving the excuse that they cannot go ahead with the same state because we have already very good, very broad geographical areas, and it is very difficult to handle the whole geographical areas. But with the policies, with the divide and rule policy, when they started to bifurcated Bihar, Odisha and Bengal in different parts, and through the partition of Bengal and the introduction, we can say, on the separate electoral on the basis of the religion, the British rule tried to be break the political unity of two major religion communities, that we have a Hindus, that we have a Muslim class. Right, we have an example of yet in the present time we have a West Bengal, and we have a very good example of Odisha, and we have a very good example of Bihar as well. Finally, all this culminating, we can say, their acceptance, that we subsequent partition of 1947, and somehow when we started to participate, the partition of India is somehow, we can say, dependent on the different factors, the reasons, and surely we can see that situations as well in 1947, and this is somehow the old history of 200 years ago back. So it is a very important to understand the present time of scenario, that what is happening in these days yet. Bengal united is the power of Bengal, divided will pull India in several different ways. This is the example of H.S. Risley, and he somehow undivided Bengal had an area of moreover 1,89,000 square miles, and called the Indian independence. And the partition of a place on October 16, 1905, we can say Vande Matarama and Amar Sonar Bengal became the anthems of the, we can say, 1905. So whenever we understand the scenario of 1905, as per the opinion of Mahatma Gandhi, sometimes he explained after the arrival of 1914 that 1905 is somewhere working in the people as is emerging the feeling of a nationalism, right? Number one. And number two, definitely we cannot ignore the policies of the colonial legacy of divide and rule policies. But surely one thing which is very important to remember, that the positions and the emergence situation of 1905 and the movement like Swadeshi movement is somehow giving the priorities, or emerging the platform like 1914, and we have emerging the platform like 1920, the non-cooperation movement. Somehow the emergence of the nationalism is not the new policy of 1905, and it is somehow creating the platform the further upcoming movements. So we have some benefits, we have some positive points as well, and we have some negative points as well, everyone. And you can see the image on the screen. This is a example of the map of 1905. This is a map of a 1905. The mid part you can see on the screen, everyone. This is somehow showing the map of a 1911, when you completely divided the whole Bengal in the West Bengal and the East Bengal. So this is a very good example. We can say when we started to divide the people on the name of the community, that you are a Hindu and you are the Muslim. Fine. So this is somehow a very good example. So what about the conclusion, everyone? That whenever we discuss about the conclusion, despite having the secular democratic nation, right? Democratic nation, the seeds of the communalism sown by the British in the Indian, we can say, psyche, and continues till the manifest in the social conflicts today. That we have still the social conflicts, that we can feel the, the relation with the Hindustan and Pakistan. Thus the eradication, when we looking for the ignorance, the communalism from India society requires the strengthening of our constitutional ideas, right? And Indian masses also need to be made aware of their, we can say, synchronization. Mr. Verma, very good morning. And need to be made aware of their, we can say, synchronization, assimilative past, which led to be flourished diagnosis in the society and borrowing the something new things. See, what is happening in the past doesn't mean that it is completely influenced the present time, right? So it is a very important to understand the importance of the feeling of a nationalism. It is a very understand the importance of the Indian citizen. That's only why we can completely just come out with the feeling of the communalism, the feeling of the identification, and surely we will provide and we will try to be give the equal respect to all the religion. Doesn't matter you belong from a Hindu community, doesn't matter you belong from a Muslim community. So what we understand with the question, it is a very important, everyone. See, the first thing that we are going to we understand the word like communalism first of all. So what we are doing, so we are just write down the introduction first of all. In the next point, we are just next heading, we are just going to choose the mid body in the communalism. And what you are write in the introduction, what you are going to mention in the introduction, everyone, it is a very important to mention the introduction, that what is communalism, right? And you have to be mentioned that what is the identification of religion. Fine. And what about the mid body? In the mid body, it is very important to discuss about the impact, right? You have to mention about the word like nationalism. With the nationalism, you have to discuss about the colonial legacy, where you have to be mentioned about the policies of the colonial policies of the British Empire, and surely we can compare the modern India or the postmodern India. And it is very important to discuss about the factors, the reasons, we can say, and it is very important to discuss the positive points. It is very important to discuss about the positive points, that how we can reform, we can say the reformation, or we can say the awareness, right? So this is somehow the, we can say, the framework of the whole question, that what we are just getting with the question, the understanding we are making with the question, the approach we are choosing, the mid body, the points that we are going to mention, nationalism, colonialism, factors, what are the reasons behind it, which I already mentioned in the past lecture. Fine, past slides. Now this is the time to discuss about the conclusion. Surely in the conclusion, first of all, it is a very important to showing the glance of the communalism, how communalism impacted in present time, and while writing the impact, you have to be not liable to compare, cannot compare just a minute. The historical events, or we can say the communal events in 21st century. And the we can say the very important point about the future perspective. What does it mean? It means when we are going to understand, the responsibility being an Indian citizen, when we are surely giving the example of the diversity of religion, Jainism, Buddhism, we have a Islam, we have a Sufis, we have a Bhakti movement as well. ठीक है, religious philosophies. Fine. And in the last point, it is very important to discuss about the words like harmony, the key points keywords we can, the peace and humanity and nationalism above from everything. Humanity and nationalism above from everything. Nationalism above from everything. So this is somehow the glance of the whole question, everyone, that I already explained in my previous slides or previous lecture. And this is not only showing you, everyone, the whole glance of the question, I feel. This is somehow showing you, everyone, the good the right approach to understand the question. How you can choose the introduction. How can you understand the question if the question is directly asked on the examination? How you can choose the key points in the examination? How can you compare the positive and the negative aspects? And how can you just write down everything without showing the biasness of the question, that what is the exact meaning of the question, how the question is explaining by the how the question is how the answer is expecting by the examiner. So this is somehow we can say surely about the whole conclusion of the communalism. We can say that communalism, the identification of the religion, is somehow a different part of it. And whenever we discuss about the different part of a communalism, this is exactly above from everything. While showing the identification of the religion, it is not necessary to show the identification of the religion in front of anyone, while respecting or while showing the respect to the every religion with the same eye. Fine. So let's move ahead, everyone. Hmm. Now, the next session we are just going to we are the next session we are just going to go ahead with the Tukaram Jayanti that we celebrated the last month, and we are just founding the statue of Tukaram in Maharashtra. And Tukaram was the person who was leading the Bhakti saint, who teaching and preaching the people in a very different manner. So let's move ahead. When what we are going to understand with the news, Tukaram Beach. And before just going to start the session, everyone, I would just like to introduce everyone with the wine news actually. See, recently Prime Minister inaugurated the Sant Tukaram शील जिसे हम बोलते हैं पत्थर का स्टैचू मंदिर in the temple town to, of Dehu in the Pune district. Right, and Shil Mandir is a temple dedicated to the slab of a stone on which Sant Tukaram meditated for 13 days. So this is the same place that Tukaram already meditated from last 13 days. You can see the image, everyone, on the screen. I just would like to show you the image on it. Okay, this is the image. No, I think I'm not added the slide of the image. Fine. So Shila refers to of a rock that is currently to the Dehu Sansthan and temple premises, and that for centuries has been the starting point of the we can say the annual pilgrimages of the Pandharpur, right? And it is somehow very important, we can say, the place, the people specifically for the Maharashtra, or the people who are preaching Tukaram in a very decent manner. They are somehow following, they have Tukaram have numbers of the followers. They are accepted the preaches and the teachings of the Tukaram, and somehow Tukaram just giving the message to the humanity above from the religion. The rock where he sat on 13 days is considered pious and places of pilgrimages for the Vakkari Sampradaya, or we can say the Sakkari sect, right? Now, who was Sant Tukaram? It is very important to know the personality, like who was Sant Tukaram actually. And so Sant Tukaram was a Vakari saint and poet. The sect is separated across Maharashtra, and the Sant Tukaram had his work are central to it. And he was famously known as Abhanga devotional. Abhanga devotional means the devotion we cannot destroy, now where you cannot destroy the meditation, the we can say the devotion of the poetry, the devotion towards the gods, the devotion towards the humanity. Community oriented worship through spiritual songs known as the kirtans. The pratha like kirtans completely started by Tukaram as well, and also composed a Marathi genre of the literature called the Abhang poetry. Abhang, the words cannot be separated. Abhang, right? The Sanskrit word, and which fused folk stories with spiritual themes. And he tried to be motivate the people with his spiritual themes and spiritual folk stories. And his philosophy, Tukaram mentioned 4 more people in his Abhangas work who had a major influence on the spiritual development. Spiritual development means when we try to be develop the people intellectually, when we try to be develop the people just far away from the identification of the religion and identification of the self. Spiritualism, when we try to be connect ourselves with the God as well. You can see the picture on the screen, everyone. This is somehow the picture, you can say, the Vedanta, the heart of the Hinduism. Whenever we discuss about the expanded scenario of the spiritualism, definitely the Vedantas and the spiritualism and the philosophy of the Hinduism is completely just completely giving the enhanced knowledge of it. And the previous bhakti saint Namadev and Dhanya Shevar, we can say Kabir and Eknath, they are completely focusing on the one God. They are completely denying the existence of the God in the idol worship. They are completely teaching the people about the humanity, that humanity is above from the religion. And Tukaram teachings were regarded as a Vedanta based Vedanta, where the Ant of the Vedas is going to be stagnant. And when we started to summarize our Vedas in a very different way, which is known as a Vedanta. Fine. So this is somehow a very important aspects of everything that Tukaram's teachings. The teachings doesn't mean that it is a limited towards the God only. It is limited towards the expansion and the enhancement of the self only. And the Tukaram's teaching and the teachings like Dhannas, the Kabirs, and the Eknath, not limited on the one sector, in the one segments. It is somehow showing the interest factor. It is somehow showing the selfless, we can say selfless help of the community. And somehow Tukaram teaching were regarded as a Vedanta base. So definitely we can say that Tukaram was not the only the philosopher, the poet, the, we can say the saint, we can say, who only teaching the people his teachings only, but somehow he started to work for the philosophy, to improving the philosophy of the religion in the society. And just go ahead with the next slide, everyone. You can say Tukaram's teaching. See, Tukaram teaching wrote in the special verse for called the Abhangas, the word we cannot separate it, and Chand, जिसे हम हिंदी में कहते हैं, run of the couplet of the 3.5 of the lines with the first 3 rhyme and rhythmic way. And Tukaram always said at the end of the each verse, he also added the signature of the Tuka, Mahane. Fine. And in one of his Abhangas, Saint Tukaram says, in some of the philosophy in the Marathi as well, and the Jeev Daya name Ruchi Vaishnava, it means he just want to show with the his teachings to the people that Jeev in any of the society, the human beings is considered as the Jeev, that all the human being on the living on the earth have a right to live and right to adopt the spirituality and the to attachment with the God. So it is very important to preach the people specifically for the society. Now, social reform, his message about the casteless society, where caste is never prioritized by the people, and the denial of the rituals had led to be the social movement. Social movement means when we're looking for the reformation in the society, that we are not satisfied with the existing society that we have already. And his Abhangas became the strong weapon against the Brahminical dominance of the society, because the when we are looking the hierarchical the hierarchy of the society, hierarchy in the society, the people who belong from the Brahminical society or the dominance of the society, the Brahminical people who are completely not giving the authority to those who are belonging from the lower class, they are not giving the equal right of the religion, equal social status. So Tukaram and the rest of the people, like the poet, like the saint like Kabir and the Namadev, they are completely rejected the ideology of the Brahminical society, the orthodox Brahminical society. See, whenever I'm using the word Brahmans and Brahminical society, it doesn't mean that I'm considering the present scenario of the Brahmans and the people who belong from a different Brahminical sects. It is somehow the definition of the almost the 200-300 years back ago, when when the movements like Bhaktism, when the movements like Sufism and the philosophies of the religion is separated from different parts, right? When we are going to be representing the religion in a very different manner. Fine. And his Abhang became the strong weapon against the Brahminical dominance of the society. So this is somehow a very prominent and very important message, we can say, given by the Tukaram. So this is a somehow very important message to the social reformation, because the people living in the existing society, they are not satisfied with the present time, right? So now, right, so this is all about the Tukaram teachings, his philosophies, right? And about and why news, because this is completely found by the Shila Mandir is found by and inaugurated by Mr. Narendra Modi the last month. So this is all about the session, everyone. And in the last, I would just like to mention the benefits to download the Exampur app, everyone. Surely you can just go ahead on the playlist on your Play Store. You can write down the Exampur Sarkari Naukri app. Later on you can install in a very easy manner. You can register yourself with your mobile and email ID, and you can let's register yourself. You can choose the examination that the for whom you are going to prepare for next further years, or for any government services. You can get the PDF. You can solve your, you can just go ahead to solving your all the doubts. You can join the Zoom meeting as well. So we have numerous of the benefits to installing the Exampur app. Okay. Hmm. So this was the current update, everyone. You can see the Bharat, we can see the ticket, the dark ticket is inaugurated by Mr. Narendra Modi the last past month ago. Fine. Okay, so we are just going to go ahead with the Buddhist art, everyone. Buddhist art, I think the previous lectures I already explained about the Buddhist art and the relevance of the Buddhist art is as well. So this is a very important segment and very important lecture, specifically in the if you are looking the prelims paper, if you are looking your mains paper, they are already giving the wholesome lecture of a Buddhism, the wholesome question on the Buddhism and Jainism as well. So it is somehow very important segment. And so let's go ahead with the Buddhist art, the relevance of the Buddhist art. We will try to be correlate the Buddhist art with social aspect, the cultural aspect, the religious aspects, the political aspects, and numerous of the aspects as well. Fine. So you can see the question, everyone. And we would like to be continue the session at 12 now. At 1. Okay, so this is all about the, you can see the question on the screen, everyone. And the question is asked about the Mathura school was the great center of art and sculptures during the early historical period. How did it differ from the Gandhara schools? So this is somehow a very, we can say the important question. And Mathura school was the great center of art and sculptures. And in this session, we are just going to elaborate in a very expanded way about the Mathura School of Art, the great center of art and sculptures during the early historical period. How did it differ from the Gandhara school? So in this session, we will try to be differentiate how the Gandhara school and how the Mathura are differentiated with each other. How the Mathura art is depicted, the Buddhist art and sculpture in different bases, and how the we can say the Mathura art is depicted Buddhist sculpture in a very different manner. So this is somehow a very important part of the lecture. You can just see different parts on the statues on the screen, everyone. This is the statues of the Buddhism. You can see the different aspects of the Buddhism. The sculpture that you can show, you can see on the screen, everyone. This is completely taken from the Mathura art, and you have already a very good picture you can see on the screen. This sculpture is completely the wholesome explanation of the Gandhara art, where is going to be just showing on a very different perspective the sharp noses, the sharp features, and start with the writing a few introductory part about that what is the Mathura art and what is the Gandhara school of art. And it is very important to differentiate between the two schools of art, right? Two schools of art, the Mathura art and the Gandhara art. Concluded by summarizing your answers. It is very important, and how you can summarizing your answer. Gandhara school, the grey, bluish grey sandstone. So in this session, we will just try to start with the introduction, that what is Gandhara art, what is Mathura art. Later on, we are just going to be differentiate between the two schools, that how the Gandhara art and how the Mathura art is going to be work actually, and how it is important to conclude by the summarization that you are answered, that how the Gandhara school, the grey the grey school of art sometimes were considered, and in the prelims perspective they are just directly asked the question sometimes, and it is very important to discuss the each and every points. And what about the introduction, everyone? The first century, we can say onwards on the Gandhara, now in Pakistan and Mathura, Northern like emerged as a major important centers of the art production, and Buddha in the symbolic basis, we can say, symbolic form got a human form in the Mathura and the Gandhara art. See, whenever we discuss the philosophy of a Buddhism and Jainism, specifically the Buddhism is never ever considered the points of opinion of the idol worship, right? But whenever we discuss about the art and sculpture, everyone, Buddha in the symbolic form got a human form in the Mathura and the Gandhara art. And the sculpture tradition in the Gandhara had the confluence of the bacteria, Parthian and the local Gandhara tradition. So this is a very important part of the segment, the sculpture tradition. Sculpture tradition, why we are making the sculpture tradition? What is the need to showing Mahatma Buddha as a part of a human figure? And how the and if the sometimes if they are showing the Mahatma Buddha as a human figure, so how can we correlate the Buddhism philosophy with the sculptures, with the art and with the other formations? Now, we have already interdisciplinary approaches, everyone, that how the interdisciplinary approach is working actually. Before going on it, it is a very important to discuss about the local sculpture tradition at a Mathura art. You can see different pictures on the screen. The picture is completely correlated with the Gandhara art, the Mathura art and the Amravati art. Right. So this is somehow a very important features of the different art and sculptures. Basically, in the Gandhara art, whenever you see the three of the sculptures, the Gandhara art, the Mathura art, the Amravati art mainly Buddhism, where he is showing the community work of the sculptures, that how Mahatma Buddha showing himself and the participation in the community. Mathura art is somehow is influenced by the three religion, like we have a Buddhism, we have a Jainism, we have a Hinduism as well. So whenever you visited in the present time, yet in the temples in the other places, definitely you can see and you can just make the balances. You can also compare that we still just seeing the statues like in the local temples, traditional temples as well, in the Hinduism as well. So what about the mainly Buddhist Gandhara arts? This is somehow a very important part of discussion on the Gandhara art, and whenever you start to differentiate it, the Mathura art and the Gandhara art, you can see the wholesome pictures and the sharp features of the Buddhism, the curly hairs of the Mahatma Buddha as well, and Mahavir as well, you can see on the image as well. And what about the influence? When you completely influenced by the culmination of the different religion, we have a Hinduism, we have a Jainism, we have a Buddhism as well. Right. So this is somehow when you whenever you saw the examples of the Gandhara art, you can definitely correlate the Buddhist as a human figurance with the we can say the Renaissance period of the European culture as well. It is somehow depicting which is formed with the marble, the curly hairs, and we have some other examples of it. I'm just going to explain further. The local sculpture tradition of Mathura became strong, then the tradition spread other parts of the northern India. So local sculptures means what? Whenever we discuss about the examples like a Mathura art, the Mathura tradition art, the northern parts, and the best example in the regards of the stupas, sculptures found as Sangholi we can say. in the Punjab. The best example regarded the sculpture, and the example you can see on the screen, everyone. This is somehow a very good example of a sung hole as well. You can see on the screen. You can see on the screen, if the screen is completely visible to everyone. Now the Buddha's image as Mathura is modeled in the lines of the earlier Yaksha's image, whereas in the Gandhara it has a Hellenistic features. Hellenistic features. And Hellenistic features means that sometimes you saw the hollow image behind the human figurines, and the Buddha's image at the Mathura is modeled on the lines of the earlier Yaksha image, whereas in the Gandhara, and it has Hellenistic features as well, right? So this is all about the Hellenistic features as well. Now you can see the image, everyone. You can see the map, everyone, on the screen. This is showing the whole sum of the map. This is the past map. You can see from the beginning of the era. If I'll start to count down from the northwest region, just a minute. We can say the northwest region. Right, and this is the image is showing from the lower Gangetic region. No, this is all about the, this part is the upper Gangetic region. This is lower Gangetic region. Right, sites of historical importance. The blue dotted line. Whenever we are talk about the Lumbini, definitely we can surely correlate Lumbini with Mahatma Buddha, the birthplace of Lumbini, Mahatma Buddha. Mathura, the Bhitar Gaon, these are somehow Devgarh. This is the temple architecture place of a Devgarh, the Shiva Mandir, the Lord Shiva Mandir, right? And the Udaygiri caves, we have a very good example of Udaygiri caves. We already have evidences of a Jainism, the sculpture of a Jainism, and rest of the, we have a very good example of a Kapisa, we have a very good example of Peshawar, Kushana territories end of the 2nd century, and numbers of the Buddha sculptures. The formation of the Buddha sculptures prevalent in Kushana territories. Kushana period site we can surely define, and Gupta territory end of the 5th century, and Gupta period sites we can say. Why we are mentioning all these dynasties on the screen? Sites of the historical importance, definitely we cannot forget the name of a Lumbini, because Lumbini has on its own importance, specifically with the religion of Buddhism as well. We cannot forget about the Bhitar Gaon, because we have already finding the rock cut temples here. Devgarh, we cannot forget about the Nagar style of the temples. Udaygiri caves, we have a very good example of a Jain temples. And what about the sites of the historical importance? The sites of the historical importance, which is completely unforgettable. Kushana territory, end of the 2nd century, it is somehow a very important presence of the Kushana territory, because in the Kushana territory, numbers of the foundation of the sculptures of the Buddhism is prevalent there. And Kushana period sites, they are not only releasing the highest number of the golden coins, but still they specifically working on the sculptures, the art and the statues, not only the Buddhism, because Buddhism is definitely adopted by Kanishk, and the 3rd council of Buddhism is also prevalent by Kanishk as well in Kashmir. And Gupta territory, end of the 5th century. Why is Gupta territory? Because Gupta territory is important, because in the Gupta phases we saw number of the art and culture, we have saw the building of the foundation of the temples as well. So this is somehow a very important parts of the Gupta territory end of the 5th century. Fine. And what about the Mathura school of art? The theme may vary from the Buddhist to Brahminical to the sometimes secular. More stress is given to the inner beauty. More we can say the stress on the inner beauty, and the facial, we can see the emotions rather than the bodily gestures. You can see on the screen, everyone, right? I hope the screen is the sculpture is completely visible to everyone. The sculpture were made on a white spotted red stones, lal patthar, and these were not influenced by the Greco-Roman techniques to that extent. I would like to show you the Greco-Roman techniques once. You can see on the screen, this is somehow the example of a Greco-Roman sculpture that you can see behind me on the screen, everyone. This is somehow a very important Hellenistic sculpture, we can say, of the Buddhism in the Gandhara art. Fine. So the several Brahminical deities were first crystallized by the schools. So that's why I'm earlier discussed with you that the mixture of the Mathura art is culminating with the Hinduism, with the impact of Jainism and the impact of Buddhism as well. And for the Mathura school, the material was red stone, and they were depicted as more than human and less spiritual, and was wholly influenced by the Indian sculptures. That's why I'm already explained you that if you are still very fascinated about or fond of to visit in the temples in the present time, definitely you can see the images portraying in the same way in the present temples or in the different religions as well. But it's difficult to see the images in the Greco or Roman sculpture formation. And Gandhara school of art had also developed in the 1st century AD along with the Mathura school during the reign of the Kushana. When Kushana Emperor Kanishka emerging, or we can say exposing the people specifically or promoting the Buddhist art as a human figuring, and both the Shakas and the Kushanas were patrons of Gandhara schools, which is known for the first sculpture representation of the Buddha in the human form. So this is somehow a very important and very prominent line in it that in the Shakas and the Kushana period, Buddhist sculpture was the first time representing as a human figure. And the art of the Gandhara school was primarily Mahayana, and it shows the Greco-Roman influence. Mahayana, which is completely adopted by Kanishka, and in the Mahayana was the sect is not completely rigid about the Buddhist principles, right? Because they are not completely rigid about the Buddhist principles. Why they're not rigid? They're not rigid about the Buddhist principles because, and shows the Greco-Roman influence, because in the Mahayana they adopted Mahatma Buddha as a human figure, as the human figure, God figure, and rest of the part they are not going to be accept Buddhism in a very rigid manner. Fine. So we have a different examples, and I already shown you the you can say the Satvahana period. Satvahana period was the period when we saw the development of the temples, developments of the sculptures in a very huge level. You can see on the image, everyone. We cannot forget about the Bharahut Sanchi, that they both are the very good example, expressive example of Sanchi Stupa and the Buddhism as well. We have a very good example of Ajanta when we are getting the example of a rock cut. When we saw not only the secularization of the sculpture, that we saw the sculpture of a Jainism, we saw the sculpture of a Buddhism, but we have a very good examples of surely we can say the Buddhist art, we can say the Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh as well. Ellora, again a very elegant cave art painting in itself. And Amravati, this is somehow a very good example of again Buddhist art representation. And Kolkata, you can say Chennai as well. So Satvahana period, this is somehow the periodization of the we can say the development in the phase of the Satvahana period. In the Deccan phase, we can say, where the sculpture and the temples of the we can say of it is the sculpture and the paintings, the expression of the sculptures and the paintings is gonna be on the rising and the peak centuries. And you can see the rest of the examples on the everyone. This is the example of the Buddhas. This is the sculptures example of the Buddhism, completely correlating with the Mathura art, right? And difference between the Mathura and the Gandhara school of art, difference between the, whenever we looking the differentiation, what about the area? The Gandhara, the school of art mostly flourished in the case of Afghanistan and the present northwest part, India, whereas Mathura school of art developed and flourished in Mathura and areas of the Uttar Pradesh, right? And what is the time period? Whenever we looking the Gandhara school of art, and Gandhara school of art completely flourished on the time of the Kushana period, right? Kushana period by the Kanishk, and this is somehow the explanatory formation. We can say this was the first time in the Mahayana sect when they are showing about the human figurines of the Mahatma Buddha in Mahayana sect. Time period, the Gandhara school of art flourished from the 1st century BC to 5th century AD, whereas the Mathura school of art originated in the 1st century BC and flourished till 12th century BC. So you can see the long phase of the time phases that we already taking moreover the half of the the 5th 100 to 10 11th, moreover the 50 decades we already just seeing here for the uh, development and for the arisation of the Gandhara school of the art. Extreme influence, external influence, external influence means when we're discussing about the different interdisciplinary approaches, that we have a different aspects of it. When we're looking for the explanation of what, when we're looking for the explanation for social aspects, we have a cultural aspects, we have a religious aspects as well. So external influences, Gandhara school of art was influenced by Greek and we can see the possibly Macedonia's, whereas Mathura school of art was purely indigenous with no external influence. So what about the Mathura school of art when they are showing the traditional output? And whenever we discuss about the Gandhara school of art, when they are showing the influence of the Greek and the influence of the Greco-Roman art and architecture. So in this section, we have a numerous of the examples. You can see on the screen. You can see the image and sculpture of the Kanishka as well. The image and the sculpture of the Kanishka completely belong from the, we can say the Greco-Roman Empire influence. You have a different Vim cut fishes we have. This is somehow a Mathura school of art example. It is completely influenced by the different arts, different aspects, we can say the local aspects, the social, the economic, the political and the cultural as well. And what about the Sarvat Bhodra, we can say Bhadra, Sarvato Bhadra. It is the meaning of the completion, that how the completion you can see in the sculptures and the statues. And Mathura school of art was purely indigenous when it is completely influenced by the past time phases as well. The influence we can say on it. Religious influences, definitely that I already giving the example of a Hellenistic approaches, that how the Hellenistic approaches is working actually. You can see the image behind me on the screen, everyone. This image is completely belong from the Hellenistic approach, we can say, and definitely this is belong from a Gandhara school of art, Amravati school of art, which is showing somehow the community work and community school of the community belongingness of a Mahatma Buddha. You can see the Yaksh and the Yakshiza. This is somehow the very prominent example of the Western art and culture. Gandhara school of art was influenced by Buddhism, right? While Mathura school of art influenced by Hinduism and Buddhism and Jainism. And materialistic used by what? Gandhara school of art used, we can say, the grey and the grey sandstone, and Mathura school of art used by supported red sandstone. So this is somehow a very prominent and very important part of a discussion, specifically when you discuss about the material of a Gandhara and material of a Mathura as well, right? So this is a very good example. Now the northwest of the part, we can say we have a Laurian Nandangada, we have a Shah Dheri, we have a Takshila as well. These are the part of a Gandhara period is influenced by the not only the people but specifically influenced by the art and culture, but this is the hub area of the expansion of the Buddhism and Jainism as well. But whenever we discuss about the influence and expansion of the Buddhism, the part like Takshila, the oldest university, where this is also considered as the we can say the hub area of the study of the Buddhist art. And we have a Shah Dheri, we have a Hadda as well, we have a Northern Nandalgarh considered as a, and Jamalgarh. The part of Afghanistan, the part of rest of the Karachi section, we have a Kabul and Kandahar, you can see on the map as well. So these are the parts where the flourishness of the Gandhara art is completely accepted by the rulers, and the acceptance of the Buddhism, we can say the expansion of the religion as well. And what about the expression? The expression of the, we can say the calmness, you can see on both of the images. This image is again from the Gandhara school of art. right? The expression of the calmness of the, we can see the center point of the attraction that you can see on the image. This image is completely, the both of the images belong from a Gandhara school of art, which is completely influenced by the outside influences. We can see the social and the religious as well, and the Western, we can see the influence you can see on the screen as well. And Buddha, whereas the Mathura Buddha is delighting in a mood, seated in the Padma Asana, right hand is the Abhaya Mudra, you can see on the screen. This is the Abhaya Mudra. And thigh showing masculinity, this is somehow showing in the part of the Gandhara school of art, which is showing the expression, the features, the way of clothing, the people standing behind it. This is somehow a very prominent and very important part of the expression in both the sculptures, even in the Gandhara art, even in the Mathura art. Now, halo, you can see the images on the screen. This is considered as a halo. This is halo means when it is somehow showing showing you the dignity of the uprising, and it is showing you the goddess figurines, providing you the goddess figurines. The halo around the head of the Buddha was no decorated generally in Gandhara school of art. In Gandhara school of art, you can see on the image, this is the image of a Gandhara school of art. So generally showing in the Gandhara school of art, while it was largely decorated in Mathura school of art. So there is a showing and there is a difference between decoration. Right, you can see the simplicity of it and you can see the decoration in the Mathura art. So the importance of the halo, which is showing you the goddess figurines on the behalf of and separated you from the human figurines. It is somehow showing in the both of the sculptures, even in the Mathura art or even in the Gandhara art. And what about the conclusion, everyone? So I hope this is completely understand by everyone that how can we differentiate the Gandhara art and the Mathura art. The sculpture you can see behind, you can see on the screen, everyone. This is completely belong from the Gandhara school of art. You can see the calmness on the face, and you can see the sharp features of the Buddhas as well. So this is somehow a very important points. And what about the conclusion? The other two schools were Amravati school and the Sarnath school of art. These school arts were mostly inspired by religion and have left behind the rich heritage. That we have a very good example of a Sanchi Stupa, we have a very good example of a Amravati, right? We have a very good example of a Bharahut sculpture as well. The art of the Indian constitutes a unique chapter specifically in the history of the human endeavor, because in the Buddhism, in the sect of the Mahayana, somewhere we are consider Mahatma Buddha as a part of the human figurines in the phases of the Kushana period on the time of Kanishkas, and unveils the deepest recession of the human mind and offers a mirror to the Indian soul. And this, whenever we looking the reason that why we are representing as the sculpture as a human figure, surely we cannot refuse the this line that showing almost the deepest recession of the human mind. It is somehow putting the we can say the images, the sculptures and the imagination of the Buddha as a human figure and as a goddess figure in the human minds, and the spiritual and the religious dimensions of the India's creative genius has found to full the perfect expression in the, we can say, the aesthetic creation. And definitely we are just adopting all these things by as per the conclusion that the spiritual and the religious, spiritual when we start to connect ourselves with the God, and the religion when we looking the philosophy of the religion of the Buddhism, who always look at the human beings above from the religion and above from the above from any sect, any caste and any creed, right? So this is somehow, while making the sculptures and painting, is showing the spiritual and religious dimensions of the Indian's creative genius, creativity, and the correlation of the spiritualism and the correlation of the religion is showing us the different dimensions of the different sects, that it is showing somehow the social, the economic and the cultural aspects of the different sects of the Buddhism. We have a Mahayana, we have a Hinayana as well, and Mahayana is only the sect who completely promoting the Buddhist art and forms, in different manner. We have a Gandhara, we have a Amravati, and we have a the different schools were almost, we have inspired the Amaravati and the Sarnath schools. So whenever we discuss about the schools, we have two schools. The Amaravati school, it is showing the community work and the community art and factors, art and culture, which is showing by Mahatma Buddha. And Sarnath, it is showing the spiritual art and sculpture of the Mahatma Buddha. That we have a very good example of a Sarnath, where the first sermon of the Buddhas is prevalent there. Right. So while doing the conclusion, everyone, I'll just take the session at 5 p.m. and I will discuss the conclusion and the answer writing practices. The conclusion, I will mention everything in the points. So this is all about the session, everyone. I hope this session is completely helpful to everyone, where you learned a lot actually. And if you have any doubt, any question, surely you can ask us, and surely we will try to answer your all the questions. And don't forget to download the Exampur app, everyone, and don't forget to share this app with your relatives in your peer group as well. So this is all about the session, and just don't forget to join me at 5 p.m. sharp, where we are just going to discuss about the session of the current affairs, and we will meet at sharp at 5 p.m. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone.